Hi y'all, good morning. It is sunrise on the Tennessee River, although I don't know how much of it we're going to get to see because of the fog this morning. Actually got a little rain last night, but we out here at the right time, so we're going to try to catch us some fish first thing this morning. Going to be using cut bait and got a special live bait for us today. So I'm going to put the camera in the chest here. We're going to get baited up and get after it, man. No time to waste here this morning. I'm ready to catch some fish. I'm going to get these baits on, and then I'll show you on my map card here on my graph, kind of how I'm setting up. Boy, goodness gracious, now I done got myself backlash. We're off to a heck of a start here this morning. I'm rushing, y'all. Had my line all wrapped around my rod tip and then gave myself a backlash. But nevertheless, we out here, we getting it done. But give me a second here, let me get these baits on. I'll show you how I'm setting up, where we're going to be fishing at today. I'll show you these live baits. Never used these before. This is going to be an interesting experiment today. But here's the first bait. That's a skipjack head. Got that going down on a Carolina rig. If you're new to my channel, this is my favorite spin fishing rig. It's an 8-ounce egg sinker down to a swivel, which then has a section of 80-pound monofilament line. Got a 10-aught size circle hook and then a Catfish Sumo bait stalker fly just a few inches below our hooked bait. I'll show you a little bit more of a close-up here on this rig here. I was in a rush here, folks. Again, I'm running behind this morning, kinda. I'll tell you about that in a second. But anyway, here's a better look at the rig. Just egg sinker, leader, very simple setup, but very effective setup for the type of fishing that we're going to be doing today. So on this rig here, same setup as far as the tackle goes, but we're going to have a chunk instead of the head, and this chunk is going to have the gut pocket intact. The next one will not. We're going to do 3 different cuts of cut bait, and then we're going to have a live bait on today. And I'm excited about this live bait, folks. This is going to be different. This is a experiment, I guess you'd call it. It's something that a lot of people that watch these videos have requested that I do, and today is the day that it's going to happen. So I'm excited about it. I hope it pays off big with hopefully a big flathead. That's what we really want today. I'll certainly take any blues that wants to play with us. They are more than welcome today. Everybody's welcome at this party except channel cats, but really want a big flathead today. So here's the other chunk there. That one's got the gut pocket cut out. Same rig. Now our live bait rig going to be slightly different. Still going to be a Carolina rig, 8-ounce egg sinker, 80-pound monofilament, 10-aught size circle hook. The difference is I'm not going to have a stinger fly on the live bait rig. I love the flies. I catch a bunch of extra fish because of the flies, but what oftentimes happens, throw that gut pocket out, what oftentimes happens when you're using live baits and you've got a fly on is a fish will come up, they'll eat the fly, and then your live bait gets knocked off during the fight. And since we only have a limited number of live baits today, I don't want to potentially lose any of them. If they get knocked off the hook, I want it to be because a fish ate the daggone thing. So here we go, folks. Are you ready? Again, I'm excited about this. This is going to be a fun experiment today. In this bucket here, we've got some goldfish. Where? Oh, right there. Yeah, right there. There we go. Get that right there. Got some goldfish. Actually, Ryan Bortz bought these goldfish. And I fished with Ryan yesterday on a trip that you're not going to see on video because, boy, we stunk it up. It was an awful trip. And I can't blame the goldfish necessarily because we were using cut bait too. We just didn't do worth a diddly doo-doo on that trip. But here we go, man. This is he ain't very gold, but he is a goldfish, and he's about, I don't know, we think 5-6 inches there. But these goldfish yesterday, when we tried them out, I was the one Ryan had on his hook was just a kicking, man. Even we fished half a day and it was still kicking when he reeled it up. And so I was very impressed how hardy these things were, but I've never used them before. Well, I can't say today's the first trip I've used them, because technically I used them there yesterday. This will be the first video that I've used them. Second actual day, I guess. But nevertheless, first time you're seeing me use them on video, because, well, honestly, I never knew where the hell you could get goldfish at. Ryan found a bait dealer that sells them. I mean, I've seen them at the pet store, and they're yay big, but I didn't know where you could get the larger ones at. And so he picked some up. They were like $1 a piece, and said, we're gonna try these things out. And so we had a bunch of bait left over yesterday because we didn't do worth a crap. And so I was like, well, I'll take them things and try them today. He was headed back home to Kentucky. And so we out here, I think there's 2 or 3 more there in the bucket. So hopefully they get gobbled up, and hopefully it's a big flathead, man. That's what I want today, is a big flathead. So where we're at, I'm gonna try to show you here on the graph best I can, and y'all have to please disregard the aerator noise today. I got to keep that bubbler going to keep the bait alive. But you can see we're on a ledge here, main channel ledge. The river makes a bend here. It's kind of a big horseshoe shaped bend. We're at the bottom end of the river bend, and it slides off into a hole. This hole goes down about 72 feet-ish here. And so I'm kind of on the top of this hole, top where it starts to come up out of the hole, I guess you could say. And 70 feet deep here where I'm at. And so we're gonna start here today and just see what's up, see if there are any fish that are in this hole. Very minimal water movement out here. Even when they're running flow at the dams, you get very little movement here. But hopefully, if they are moving any current, I didn't check the generation schedule. If they are, it'll maybe disperse our scent some, get it pushed back down in this hole here behind us a little bit, and maybe get some fish to come up and feed. The other thing that we'll have working in our favor today is just how we're positioned here in this hole. Fish that are working upriver or downriver, they're gonna have to swim through our baits. And so we'll have a chance at those. So we're gonna have the 3 cut bait rods here to start with. You know, different cuts, different variety. What I really want is just putting out more scent. That's what I want the extra. Instead of putting on 2 live baits and 2 cut baits right now, I really want just more scent in the water, because as we've dropped those baits down in the water column, the blood, the oil, it's coming off the baits, and so it's dispersing on the way down, and so any water movement, whether it's wind or any flow whatsoever, will just kind of create that any kind of scent we could have to get these fish to lock in on. We want it. And so we're gonna put in a few hours out here this morning. My plan is to fish till about lunchtime today. So if we're just not getting bit here, like no taps, no nothing after, I don't know, hour and a half, we might move up on this point. I fished this point up here in a recent trip. Did okay, got some fish, got some decent fish. But my guess is, if you will, that fish that will move up on that point and feed, or move back in that creek yonder there and feed, they're probably going to retreat back to this hole after they're done. And so we're just going to kind of make it easy on them here, if you will, by having baits down in this hole. So any fish that are here, I'm hoping before they move up, we get them. And let's say, you know, we're right here at first light. Let's say fish have been up feeding tonight. They've been back in that creek. They've been up on that point. Maybe they're still there. As they come back off, retreat back to deeper water, you know, we've got an easy meal for them. So they may be gorged, but I've seen it so many times, the fish will be just full. Like, you'll fill their belly, man. They'll be just full of other fish. Sometimes you reel one in, they'll puke up what else they've eaten, but they'll still eat again because it's an easy meal right in front of them. So that's kind of what we're hoping for today. But nevertheless, I'm gonna leave the camera rolling the whole time. Raw and uncut, unedited. Y'all gonna see it all today. We'll sit here, we'll tell you some stories. I wish the video yesterday had worked out between me and Ryan. We sucked yesterday. I'm gonna put y'all in chat so you can see these rods go down, but Ryan and I, the plan initially was for me to go to Chattanooga. He had been down there for the weekend and he stunk it up down there. He caught some fish at the dam, but he didn't do any good anywhere else. And so I was supposed to go down there to him yesterday, but he called me the day before and he said, look, man, I ain't on any fish down here. And so I hate for you to make the drive down and stink it up like I have all weekend. So he came up here and fished. Now we fished on Watts Bar yesterday. And we went to an area, he hadn't never been there, but I've been there before. And I thought, man, between the two of us, like, we're gonna catch some fish and one of us is probably gonna bust a big one. That's what I was thinking. Well, it turns out I shouldn't have been thinking. It turns out I'm a lousy fishing guide because we didn't do worth a diddly doo-doo. It took, I think it was like an hour, hour and a half to get the first bite, which I got. It was a small, just dink blue, about as big as my bait. And Ryan ended up getting 2 fish after that were not much bigger than his baits. The goldfish didn't get hit at all. And so it sucked, man. I was like, I told Ryan, I was like, man, I can't post this video. Like, this is embarrassing. This is, I want these trips to be real and authentic and everything, but there needs to be some kind of action in there. I mean, we need to catch something. I don't want to subject you all to 4 or 5 hour video that ain't got but 2 or 3 small fish in it. Like, I don't want to do that to you. And so I just scrapped it, man. But I wish things had went well, because Ryan has some great stories. He got robbed over the weekend while he was down there in Chattanooga. An amazing story. I wish you could hear him. I'll tell it to you, but I wish you could hear it from him, because it's an amazing story. But nevertheless, yesterday we made it back to the car with our tail between our legs because we'd been whooped yesterday. Didn't do any good, so he went on back to Kentucky, left me his bait. So we're gonna put the goldfish to an experiment today, and we're on Fort Loudon today. We'll see how they do out here. Hopefully this spot will pay off a little more than the terrible area I picked yesterday. I'll never make it in the fishing guide world, folks. Thank God I don't have any desire to ever be a fishing guide, because boy, I mean, yesterday was tough. I mean, it was a dud, man, a dud. So today, hopefully the universe owes us one. But I'm excited to try out these goldfish. I was very impressed with how hardy they are. I did have one die in that bucket last night, and it was actually the one that Ryan had used yesterday. When he had reeled it up, like I said, it was still kicking. And so he was like, well, I'll just throw it back in the bucket. And I got home yesterday and it was still alive. And I was like, well, I'll try it. I'll try leaving it in there. But it did end up dying last night. But yeah, but overall, they were still kicking a few hours into our trip yesterday. So very impressed on how hardy they are. A lot of people swear by goldfish. I've had people in my comment box for years trying to get me to use them. But again, where the hell do you get goldfish at? I didn't know. I mean, other than pet store, and them things are just small. To get one that's big enough to be able to keep itself alive on a larger catfish hook, and be something that's big enough that a larger catfish would be tempted to eat, I didn't know where the hell you get them at unless you get one of them. They sell larger ones at the pet store, but they're $8 or $10. I'm not going to pay that for a single bait. But nevertheless, Ryan found a fella sells them $1 a piece, and so he got a bucket full of them. And we tried them out unsuccessfully yesterday. We'll try it again today. Hopefully this will be worthwhile. So this will technically be the first trip on video that I've used them. Get the clarification down there for those of you taking notes at home. First time ever on video. I guess technically yesterday I did film, but I scrapped the video, so it's like it never happened. But you know what I'm trying to say. If you're seeing this, things went well today. It means we got on some fish out here. I'm gonna show you. Well, we ain't seeing no sunrise today, folks. The fog is going to be too thick. We had some rain last night. Some much needed rain, by the way. Ever since I put my grass seed down, I don't know, a week and a half ago now. Because you're supposed to plant grass seed in the fall, and I waited until we had some rain in the forecast. Because I didn't want to put seed down and it'd be as dry as it has been. And I'll be damned, it sprinkled one day and that's all we've had. But last night we had a good shower. I mean, it rained for a solid 20, 30 minutes at my house, like a good soaking rain. And so because of that, we got some fog on the river this morning. So I waited a little longer to get out. That's why we're a little bit later getting out here today, because I thought the fog would be so bad that it wouldn't be real safe to get out. But when I got out here, I had more visibility than I thought I would. So we're a little bit later getting out here than what I would ideally like. So a little bit behind this morning, but lately, regular viewers, you've seen this. The bite for me has not been first thing in the morning at sunrise. It has been an hour or two afterwards. That's when I'm getting the better quality fish. So I don't know if that's just because of where we've been on recent trips or if that's a pattern going on, but the sunrise bite hasn't been there in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So not too terrible thing for us to be out here a little later today. The other thing too, as far as getting out here later, is I had to travel farther. I'm in my Hobie kayak today with the motor and everything so we could use more rods. I wanted to have an adequate amount of cut bait rods, but also still use the live bait. So I brought this kayak. Well, as sirens go by, sirens and airplanes, we're gonna have a very peaceful, quiet day out here. But when I'm fishing in my other kayak with my pedals, and I just fish with 2 rods, and everything's lighter weight in that kayak. So if I wanted to fish this area in that kayak, I'd put it in this creek over here. Just slide it off on the side there in the creek and come on down here. It's a short run to get down here. Well, when I'm in this kayak, you ain't dropping this kayak off on the side of the road somewhere or on the side of a creek bank. I need a ramp for this kayak, because I mean, I've got the motor and batteries, and this kayak's heavy anyway. And so if I ain't got a boat ramp, I ain't using this kayak. And so I had to use the boat ramp over here. And it's probably, I'm terrible at judging distances. I would say it's over a mile for sure, somewhere between 1 and 2 miles away. So it took me a little longer to make the run down here than what it would have if I had been in my pedal kayak. Pedal kayak's so much more convenient, but I can't fish 4 rods in that. I can do 2. And I didn't want to do just 1 piece of cut bait and 1 live bait. And I definitely wanted these live baits. So, yeah. So anyway, we out here. If the bite's been like it has been, we've probably got a little time to kill before we're going to get bit anyway. I wish we could sit here and watch that damn sunrise though, but it just ain't going to happen today. The kayak ain't really facing the right direction for y'all to watch it anyhow, but it's just too foggy. The perk of having the fog though, this is going to be beneficial today, is the fact that it's turned hot again here in Tennessee. We're going through some kind of summer again. You know how in the fall, you get into fall and temperatures start to cool, and then all of a sudden you'll have a stretch of like 90-degree days. They name those things. And I don't know what this is called. In the winter time, or in the spring, you have the opposite. You going in through spring, and then you'll have a real cold stretch. And the old timers, they'll call it like blackberry winter, dogwood winter, something like that. And they have those names for it in the fall too. It's some kind of summer. I don't know what we're going through, but nevertheless, it's going to be close to 90 degrees today. So, going to be a morning trip for me. We'll try to catch us a few fish here on Fort Loudon, so I'm not expecting big numbers of fish as far as quantity goes. I think we'll have a chance at busting a good quality fish, but I'm kind of hoping for about 1 fish an hour average for today. So if we fish 5 hours, I'd like to have about 5 fish today. That's kind of what I'm shooting for. Some of the other places I go that have more quantity of fish, I certainly wouldn't necessarily be happy with 1 bite an hour. But out here, if you average 1 bite an hour and you get some good quality fish, that's a pretty good day. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I'm kind of keeping it pointed this way for now. I'm talking this way because we've got some damn kayakers over here. They're just sitting out here in the middle of the river. And I know if I turn that way, if I turn forward in the kayak, my voice is going to be projecting to them, and I'm sure they're all nice people. But I don't have any desire to talk to them this morning. I'll talk to you all, but I don't want to have human interaction today. I just don't. I don't want to do it. I can't do any human interaction. I need a day where it's just me and you. And when I say me and you, I mean basically me talking to this camera, to you, talking to you through the camera. There's something about in-person human interaction that just, some days I can do it and some days I can't, and I can't do it today. Let me tell you about Ryan, though. I wish we could have caught some fish yesterday so he could tell you the story himself. But this was an amazing... I mean, if it can happen, it's going to happen to Ryan. This guy... So, he's down there in Chattanooga this past weekend, right? I'm going to kick back and relax here while I tell you the story, too. I'm going to put my feet up here. So, Ryan's down there in Chattanooga, and he had went down to Chattanooga to drop off some planer boards. He's been making some planer boards for Catfish Sumo, just helping assemble them and stuff. And Ryan lives in Kentucky, and Catfish Sumo is headquartered in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So anyway, Ryan went down there. He was going to drop off a load of boards and fish for the weekend. And so he had his kayak at the Catfish Sumo warehouse because Ryan's a cheap ass and he's not going to get a hotel. And Daniel, being the nice person he is, owns Catfish Sumo. He's like, well, if you need a place to stay, you can stay here in the warehouse. And so Ryan, he took his air mattress that he camps with and sleep there in the warehouse. Of course, in the warehouse, Daniel's got like a full bathroom, shower, all that crap in there. So anyway, Ryan stayed there. Well, the warehouse is kind of in, it's in Chattanooga. It's kind of downtown there. And it ain't exactly the nicest neighborhood as far as the kind of people that loiter around. You know how it is. Anytime you're in a downtown area, I don't care what city you're in, there's a lot of riffraff around, right? And so anyway, Ryan had his kayak and trailer, his vehicle out there parked out beside the warehouse. Well, he gets up next morning there, he's going to go planning on going fishing. Well, he gets up, his damn kayak's gone. The kayak, the trailer, everything, it's been gone. And so, he calls the cops. File a report saying he's been robbed. And he calls Daniel. And of course, Daniel, I mean, he's got security cameras everywhere down there. You have to. I mean, if you're running a business in a downtown area, you got to have security cameras. And so Daniel pulls the footage. And he sees this guy on there on a bicycle. This fella, he's got a bicycle with like a mini trailer behind it, like a baby carriage or something. And so the video footage shows this guy looking at Ryan's kayak for like 20 minutes. And then he leaves. And then he comes back, and now he don't have the baby carriage on the back anymore. And he unhooks Ryan's kayak trailer from his vehicle, which why the hell Ryan didn't have a lock on that trailer, who the hell knows. But anyway, he didn't. So the guy unhooks the trailer from Ryan's vehicle, his soccer mom van. Give him hell about that. Y'all, he drives a soccer mom van. But he unhooks it and walks it around to the side of the building. And then he disappears again for like 20 minutes. The dude's just gone. And then he comes back again, hooks it up to his bicycle. You can't make this stuff up, folks. He's hooking a kayak trailer. And this trailer, I mean, Ryan's kayak's heavy too, and it's weighted down with a motor and batteries and all that. And then, of course, the trailer weight. I mean, this ain't a lightweight type trailer and kayak, man. This is, it's a few hundred pounds. Dude hooks it up to his bicycle and takes off. I mean, he must have either superhuman strength in his legs, or he's on some damn good meth and give him some superhuman strength, because he just pedals off with the damn thing. And so Ryan gets up, and he's missing a kayak trailer, everything. He's been robbed. So the cops come, and Daniel shows them the footage there of the guy stealing it and whatnot. And the cop that showed up, fortunately, knew the crook that had stolen it. This apparently, it's a common thing with this dude just walking off with stuff or riding off with stuff. And so the cop told Ryan, he said, "Oh, this guy, he's got 3 or 4 places he hangs out. I'll drive around and see what I find." And so the cop called Ryan a little while later, said, "I found it, come get your kayak." And he had made it about a mile and a half away. I was like, man, that guy must have superhuman strength, though, to tow that kayak and trailer that's a few hundred pounds with the bicycle. And it wasn't an electric bike either. Like, it wasn't, it wasn't like a motorized bicycle. It's a Huffy. Like one of them we had as kids, you got to pedal. But, I mean, he hooked that thing up and was gone. But the dude was gone. The cop found the kayak trailer and kayak. Dude wasn't there, so he didn't get cuffed and stuffed. He probably never will, because these cops today, they don't arrest nobody for stealing nothing. That's part of the problem with the world today. Everybody, all these stores and whatnot, we've talked about it, me and you, on these videos, these stores getting robbed. They're closing up shop because it ain't even it's barely a misdemeanor charge. They don't even take them to jail anymore if they get caught stealing. So what's the deterrent to keep them from doing it? But this guy, yeah, he stole Ryan's damn kayak trailer right off the car. Thankfully, he didn't take anything that was inside Ryan's kayak. He had his graph on there. Dude, I know, could have pawned that, but he left that on. He had taken some stuff out of the kayak and set it on the ground, but everything was still in the kayak. The only damage he really had was a ratchet strap. The dude had cut one of the hooks off of a ratchet strap and, like, I guess helped tie it to his bike to help secure it or something. But that was it. So Ryan, he got unlucky that he got stolen from, and he had a lousy weekend of fishing and whatnot, but he got real lucky that he got it back. He got the right cop to show up that just happened to know the crook that had stolen from him. People like that, though, it's like, I mean, that cop knew the guy, right? Because he steals all the time. Like, he's been busted stealing from other people, other businesses down there. They've got him on camera. I mean, they got him dead to rights with Daniel's footage, because they've literally got him on multiple cameras. The whole process. You know, checking out the kayak, unhooking it from Ryan's vehicle, walking it around to the side of the warehouse, hooking it up to his bike, riding off, like it's all on videotape. But again, whoop-de-doo, you got video proof of this guy committing a crime, but nobody enforces crimes anymore. And you would think, and I'm no legal expert or anything, so what the hell do I know? I'm not Perry Mason or Matlock or Law and Order SVU here. I don't know a damn thing about the law. But you would think, with it being well, here's two things. One, the value of the kayak and the trailer itself should be enough to make it a felony charge. These people that are stealing stuff in stores, they keep it to like under $500 or under $1,000, whatever the law says is a misdemeanor. They make sure they steal under that, so that if they do get busted, they're not going to jail. But the value of Ryan's kayak and trailer should be more than enough to make it a felony charge, which should get something done about it. The other thing that I would think of is the fact that Ryan's kayak is registered. If you've got a motor on your kayak, you have to go through the registration process. Well, at least in Tennessee you do. He's from Kentucky, you have to do it there. If you put a kayak or a motor on a kayak, it's technically considered a boat at that point. You have to register it like a boat. The laws pertaining to boats now pertain to you if you're in a kayak with a motor on it, right? So, with the fact that this guy stole a watercraft, essentially, a boat, a vehicle, if you will, you would think that would make it a more of a charge. You know what I mean? Like, let's say you stole a car. That's more than just regular theft, right? Like, think that like called grand theft or something, grand theft auto. Surely there's like something comparable to that if a person steals a boat. That's what I would think anyway. But you watch and see, ain't gonna be a damn thing done with this guy. Not a damn thing. There won't be not one damn thing ever come of this with that guy. He's still on the streets today. If he ever does get picked up, he'll get he'll pick up a charge, maybe get a court date that he probably won't show up to, and that'll be that. And somebody like that that's homeless, that's just going around stealing stuff off people's porches and, around warehouses and things, like people like that, hell, you send them to jail, you give them health care and 3 square meals a day, you're doing them a favor. So what's the punishment? How do you deter this kind of stuff if there's no punishment? If the punishment improves the quality of lives for the people being punished, why the hell would they why would they change anything with their behavior and their actions? So I don't know what you do about that. But it's a problem in society today. You know it is. We've talked about it a lot with these stores and everything getting robbed. These stores are getting robbed. People stealing so much stuff, they're having to lock everything up behind glass. You want a can of shaving cream or some deodorant, and you got to have a store associate, if you can find one working, to come unlock it just so you can get you some damn deodorant. It's caused all the theft. But what's the deterrent? And if you create laws that really strictly punish people, like, I remember there was some country or something I remember hearing about years ago, but like if you got caught stealing, they'd chop a finger off or chop your hand off or something. And listen, that's a bit extreme. I think we can all agree, like, that's a little extreme. Cut somebody's hand off because they got caught stealing. But at the same time too, when you look at how rampant theft is in the United States, and I guarantee you, if a country is chopping people's fingers off because of stealing, people are thinking twice before they go taking something that ain't theirs. Like the threat of losing your pinky or your thumb is going to deter you. It would sure as hell deter me. And listen, I ain't advocating for that, okay? Don't try to cancel me on here, because I ain't advocating for that. But I'm just saying, somewhere in between cutting a person's hand off and letting them get off scot-free, not even arresting them, somewhere in between that, there's got to be a happy medium to where you can punish people for committing crimes and hopefully deter them from continuing to do so. And I don't know what that is, and I don't know how you change it. But thankfully, Ryan got his kayak back. All's well in the end. I wish he could have told you the story, because you better believe I was busting his chops out there for it, man. I get him all the time anyway. I call him Bottle Rocket Boards, because all the noise he made of all the stuff he's going to do on YouTube. Now he barely posts a video. And then the fact he drives a soccer mom van, I give him hell for that. The fact he's leaving his kayak in a downtown Chattanooga, they ain't even locked to his car. And you know, I mean, listen, if a person wants to steal a trailer off your vehicle, it don't take much to bust them locks. If they got a little battery operated grinder, a crowbar, a hammer or something, they can get that damn lock, right? But it is an extra step. It's an extra step they're going to have to take. It's going to make some noise. Like if they pound it with a rock or a hammer or something, you might hear it if you're inside. So that might deter some. If somebody's just walking by and there's something right there they can easily grab and run off with, they're going to be more likely to steal that than if it's something they're going to have to put forth some effort and kind of work toward a little bit, right? So, yeah, I'm going to make it as hard as I can on anybody trying to steal from me. Most of the time I stay at hotels when I go somewhere. I want a well-lit parking lot. I've got them locking Kevlar straps, so them straps I use, and I only use them when I'm traveling. Like, I don't put them on the kayak the rest of the time, but they're called Canyon locks. Now, I ain't trying to sell you no damn straps here, but I'll just tell you about the straps, how they operate. They're made out of a material that can't be cut and can't use bolt cutters on. It's got like Kevlar wrapped steel through these straps. And so if a person tries to use a knife and cut through the Kevlar, they can't cut through the metal in there with a knife. If they try using bolt cutters and cutting through the metal, that ain't gonna cut the Kevlar. And they got a lock on them, kind of lock them up. So, you know, I mean, listen, if a person wants what you got, they could eventually spend some time and work with it and get it, right? Like that, a good thief that really wants something, they're determined, they're going to get it. But somebody just looking for the quick score, maybe they got a pocket knife on them, they think, well, I'll just cut this strap and be good to go. They ain't getting it. Or somebody with some bolt cutters, like, oh, I'll just cut this, they're not getting it. So you deter the people looking for the quick score in that situation, at least I hope so. So far, knock on wood, I ain't had any issues, but I don't leave my stuff parked out beside a warehouse in downtown city environment with a bunch of homeless people around. I ain't trying to say all homeless people steal. Don't get me on that either, but it's just fact. When you got a lot of homeless people and people with psychiatric problems, and a lot of them in one area, there's going to be more crime and more theft. That's just fact, folks. I'm not telling you nothing you don't know. I'm not profiling. I'm just saying facts here. That's the way it is. These downtown environments, they have a higher crime rate, higher theft. We had a fish hit. Look right here. We got a fish working this front rod. Let go. Thanks for nothing, fish. Thanks for nothing. I was all kicked back and comfortable. I thought I was about to grab a rod, and that fish, he teased me. Just a tease. Like a girl at the nudie bar, at the gentleman's club, making you feel all special till you out of dollar bills. And then all of a sudden, you know what? She ain't got time for you no more. Once that stack of George Washingtons is gone, so's that girl. And that dream you had that you had a chance with her. That's how it used to be anyway. I ain't been to a gentleman's club in a long time. That's how it used to go, though. I wonder today, with just the rise of things like OnlyFans and whatnot, where people can do whatever they want from the comfort of their house on camera and reach an audience. I wonder how much business I guess the clientele there at the Gentleman's Club, they're still going. Because you get that girl like physically in person there at the Gentleman's Club, where you don't on a website, OnlyFans type thing. But for the girls themselves, I wonder if the Gentlemen's Clubs are having a harder time getting employees at this point in time. I don't know. I mean, I drive by that Gentlemen's Club up here in Knoxville fairly regularly. I've never seen a now hiring sign out there in front of the building, but I wonder how hard it is to get staff in there. I mean, I'm sure you get a staph infection in there real easy, but you know what I mean, like actual worker staff. Them girls out there in Vegas, though, they probably make a lot more. Out there in Las Vegas, them Gentlemen's Clubs out there, they'll send a limo pick you up free of charge. They got them, some of them just big old Gentlemen's Clubs, and they'll give you a card, and you call that number. Now, I've done this before in years past, but me and my girlfriend, we went out there to Las Vegas back in the winter. I think this is February, March we went, I can't remember. And they were still giving out them cards, but I had went many years ago, and they give you this card and you call a number and they will come to your hotel and pick you up in a limo. And they give you some vouchers there to get you free drinks and give you free cover charge to get in the door. Because I guess they know you're gonna spend a ton of money when you get in there. Joke's on them, I'm cheap. Watch his front rod. Has he got it? He wants it. I think that fish is on there, folks. I think that's on that head bait. That's an odd bite. That's an odd bite. Could this be a flathead? He didn't nail it. He just put a little weight on and then it just kind of, he's got my other front line up there, dadgummit. I think this might be a flathead. That was a very peculiar bite. And he's pulling, buddy. He's pulling. This is, it was either going to be a flathead or just a dink blue that was just kind of messing with the bait. But this is pulling in such a way that leads me to believe that we got a flathead here. It could be a foul-hooked blue, potentially. Maybe a smaller fish that just got, maybe he nipped the bait and foul-hooked himself on the fly or something. But he feels good right now. We'll get him up here and see what he is. I'm hoping it's a flathead. That's what I want to get today. I'm hoping these goldfish will bust us a flathead. Oh, I got another rod going down. I got the rod behind us is going down, y'all. Oh, that one's pulling line. That one's pulling line. Let's get this one up here to the surface and we'll pick up on the other one. We got a double. We got fish working through. Business just picked up. Business just picked up, man. Oh, this is pulling, man. This feels like a decent fish right here. I'm seeing the bubbles. I hope it's a flathead. Them some big bubbles. It is not a flathead. It is a blue. It's a nice blue. Odd bite. Very odd bite for that fish. Let's set him back. If I can get him back in the rod holder here, that thing's wild, man. He's wound up. That's a good fight. Let's see if this one's still on. He is. All right, we're doubled. How about that, folks? Sitting here, just minding our own business, trying to figure out how these nudie bars can recruit some new staff. And next thing you know, we got 2 rods going down. 70 feet deep here in this hole. We either got some fish get active in it or some fish work through it. I really thought that blue over there was a flathead, man. The way he was fighting, I didn't feel him rolling. This one here is going to be another quality fish, I'll tell you that. As the other blue over here, he's splashing. He's upset with this fish taking his attention. This one here still taking a little line. I think this one in my hand is going to be bigger than the other one over here. And this other one's a fun sizer, man. He's a good fish. How about that, folks? It took a while. It took a while to get the first bite, but that's how it goes. Oh, buddy. I felt a thump. I think our goldfish might have gotten eat. I think our goldfish might have got eat, y'all. We're gonna get this one up here and take a look at him. I'm gonna pick up on the goldfish. I think something, my line back there, I felt a thump. And my line is, my rod tip's standing up like there's no weight on it right now. Like something's ate him and come up in the water column or something. Okay, I think this is a blue. I just felt him roll. I'm seeing some bubbles come up here behind us. We definitely want to see the bubbles today because, see right there, them bubbles coming up. You definitely want to see that when you're fishing 70 feet deep. Yeah, this is a good fish. This one's bigger than the other one. Look at that thing. Look at that one, buddy. 2 solid fish, doubled up on them. That'll tickle me. Let's get him over here and just get a look at him, make sure he's hooked good. And then we're gonna pick up on the goldfish and see if something's there. Man, how about that? We got the head bait and the chunk with the gut pocket removed. And the chunk with the gut pocket intact, it got tapped up there. Let me just make sure this thing's hooked decent. I want to pick up on this other rod. I don't know if anything's on it, but yeah, oh, I think he's going to be okay. That hook's right in the corner of the mouth. Hopefully, we'll land him first if there ain't nothing on this rod. No, ain't nothing there. Dang, I thought that thing got hit. It looked like, I felt it, and my rod tip, you can see there's just a little weight on the rod from that sinker. It was standing up. Did this one just get hit? Is that a fish on there? Oh gosh, it is. It is. We're tripled. We're tripled, y'all. One of you's laying these other fish so we can get a bait back down there. We got them working through, man. Everything's getting eaten but the damn goldfish. The goldfish experiment ain't working out right now. We are tripled up, man. One of you's laying these fish, man. We got to get lines back down, y'all. You wasting time here. Y'all terrible fishing partners. I don't know why I can't get a fishing partner that'll help me out on these videos. I'll alert one of them damn kayakers. Well, I don't even know where they went now. I'll get one of them to come help me. I didn't want to have any human interaction today, but I need some help right now. Okay, that's the smallest one. Man, okay, let's get rid of some of these fish, y'all. We gotta get some baits back down there. Hey, 3 fish in a row, man. We'll fist pump that. I want to get this big one gone first because he's the one that don't seem to be hooked very good. Let me set y'all up here. Let me see if I can turn that screen on here. Let me get y'all positioned there, the way I can get hold of this fish. Put your sunglasses on, you're looking into the sun back there. This one's a good one right here. This is a good fish. Fish number 2 is definitely the biggest of the group that come through. So far, anyway. Okay. Oh, yes, y'all. Yes. Hello, Mr. Blue Cat. So happy to have you, buddy. Thanks for joining the party today. All right, folks, there he is. How about that, man? Fish number 2 of a triple. And I really thought that goldfish got hit. But whatever hit him didn't take him, apparently. Thought twice about it. But the skipjack, all 3 pieces of it, just got it done, man. All right, Blue Kitty, let's let you go. I gotta land your friends, and he's clamped down. Did you see that? He clamped down on my thumb as I was trying to let go. He about took the glove and everything. Goodness gracious, these fish are ornery, man. They just come through in a pack, y'all. They were just swimming through in a pack, and we had easy meals down there, and they took advantage. They said, buffet's open. Oh man, this thing is, boy, this here's gonna be a little tough to grab. Okay, I don't want to get a hook at me here. I don't want to get a hook in me. There goes the boat by. Y'all waved that boat. Don't let them know I got any fish on here. I don't want them seeing this. They'll be camped out here. Okay. We got that head bait back on that, but I'm gonna switch it out here in a minute. Okay. Fish number 1 of the triple, technically. First fish hooked up with, second fish landed. Quality fish, fun size, a little skinny for his size, but you can see the muscles there behind his head, like he needs to fill out a little bit. You need to eat you a sandwich down there, fish. Nice, man. That's exciting, y'all. That's exciting. See you, buddy. All right, let's get the little one. Let's get our dink here. That is exciting, man. I tell you, when you get 1 fish on in a kayak, it's fun. You get 2 on, but 3 or more at the same time, like, you in for a good time, buddy. You in for a good time. This fish here didn't think it was a very good time. He said he's got better stuff to do than wait 5 minutes on his turn to get held up in front of the camera. Yes, man, that's awesome. I mean, I was hoping for about a fish an hour average, and boy, we just boosted our average with 3 fish. Right at, what about, we ain't even hit the hour mark yet, so. Fist pump, y'all, yes. Let's very quickly get us some more baits on. We'll shout out old Bottle Rocket Bortz, Ryan Bortz. Starving artist, I call him. Left me his bait there yesterday. Maybe Ryan was just bad luck yesterday. Yeah, I thought it was my fault because I had picked the place. But he's the one that got his kayak stolen and hadn't done worth of crap fishing over the weekend down there in Chattanooga. Maybe it was him that was the problem. Maybe the Judy was on him. Here I was blaming myself. Never blame yourself, people, when you can put the blame on somebody else. That's a life hack 101 right there. Yeah, we're just gonna switch all this stuff out here, buddy. I don't wanna put these baits back down. I mean, that bait right there would still catch a fish probably, but if we got more working through, I wanna give them a quality option. I hope if there's still fish down there, I hope they've waited on us. If y'all's a fishing partner worth a damn, you'd have done had these lines baited up while I was holding up the other fish. If we would work as a team, we would get so much more done together. But y'all are lousy teammates. You make me do everything. I don't know why you do this to me. We're gonna get it together here though, folks. That makes me happy. That makes me happy. I'm gonna switch this bait out too. We'll cut that up here in a minute. I'll cut that up real small pieces and we'll kind of chum the water a little bit. I don't think we ain't had hardly any rain in East Tennessee in forever. I mean, sure, we got some rain at my house last night, and apparently here too, for as foggy as it is, but I mean, it was 20, 30 minutes. It wasn't like an extended rain. I haven't mowed my yard in like a month now. I mean, it's dead. It's brown. It's dead. I mean, it's seriously, I'm not even exaggerating. Like, it's been a month since I've mowed, which is a little disappointing because I like mowing. There's something very enjoyable about it. But I don't think they're moving any water, and the flow through here is just minimal water movement even when you do have some flow. So, but anything we can do to have some to have some scent dispersion is welcomed. And these fish that are working up and down the ledge or in this hole or retreating back to the hole, like we got a meal for them. I'm doing the same setup we did before. I had a chunk with the gut pocket intact and a chunk without. I'm gonna message Ryan today at some point, and I'm gonna tell him what a jinx he is. It's his own damn fault y'all didn't get to hear his story yesterday. I mean, clearly, I can pick a spot after what we just seen right there. Ryan's out there yesterday. We were fishing a place on Watts Bar. We drifted a kind of a deeper ledge to start, and then we spot walked in a hole like we're doing right now. And Ryan hates fishing like that. He hates it. He likes pulling planer boards and dragging, and he likes fishing at the dam and bumping. He don't like suspending. It drives him crazy. He'd rather take a beating than do that. Here, let's cut this up right quick while I tell you about old Bottle Rocket boards. But he can't stand it, and so the whole time, he's impatient. He's tapping his foot like he's wanting to. He's like, yeah, I bet them fish are up shallow. They're in the shallows right now. We should be dragging a shallow flat, 10, 15 feet deep, whatever. Well, by gosh, we're catching them 70 feet deep right here. Ryan and I are polar opposites in how we like to fish. He wants to drag baits and pull planer boards. I hate planer boards. I think it's we'll drop them chunks down there in the water. We'll see this right here. See all that right there, all that oil when you drop them baits down there like that? All that's dispersing as them chunks fall down through the water. So you are getting a little bit of movement on your scent, and them chunks were going backwards. So maybe we do have a little bit of flow. Maybe we got a little bit. Maybe there's enough to at least disperse it a little bit. So that's encouraging. But you'll see it when you drop your baits down in the water, the blood, the oil, like you'll see it kind of expand there on the water surface, right? And that's happening all the way down as them baits fall down. And so you're putting out some scent even on days where you don't have flow, but the way those were moving, it seemed like we got something going through here. But yeah, Ryan and I, complete opposites. I am perfectly content pulling up on a spot like this, a place where I know either fish are going to be or they can move through at some point during the day. And I can sit on a spot like this for hours, and I can do it with nothing going on, like no taps, no nothing, because I know it's a matter of time. Ryan can't sit still like that. He's got to be doing something. He's either got to be pulling boards, which again, I hate, man. It just ain't fun. It just ain't a fun way to catch fish. And Ryan, he's about results, man. He's like, if that's what it takes to catch a big fish that day, that's what he wants to do. And I get that. I mean, I totally get it. I just don't like doing it. I want to have fun when I go fishing. Anybody can go out, and Ryan's pretty smart about how he pulls boards. Some of these guys, they just go out and pull boards at random, and you'll catch fish doing that because if you you spend enough time on the water and you've got 6 rods out covering a 100-yard stretch, you're going to accidentally run into some fish. I ain't like it takes a lot of skill or talent to run planer boards. It can be work if you're pulling through snaggy areas. The people who are good at it, you take somebody like Zach Royce, he kind of put planer board fishing for catfish on the map. Like, he's dialed in with it, man. He's good. Like, he's really good at it. Ryan has gotten really good at it, but some of these people, they just go out and pull boards at random, and you'll catch a few fish throughout the day, but it's like, you talk to them and it's clear. You talk to some of these people that pull boards for 5 minutes, it's clear they don't have a clue about anything. But nevertheless, Ryan's one of them people. He likes to be moving and doing stuff. So he'll pull boards, he'll be there below the dam bumping. He can't sit still. Me, I'm fine with sitting still, and I'm fine with waiting out a bite. We can bait and wait all morning here, because when it happens, when you have fish work through like we just did, and you get 2 or 3 rods going down all at the same time, that's fun. And it's more fun when you're doing it. You say today here we're 70 feet deep, so we got 67 feet of line out, let's say. That's a pretty intense battle. If we were dragging baits through here, which we could do, but we would have, what, at least 150 yards of line out or more, probably. We'd have to be 70 feet deep and keep our rigs on bottom as we pull along. We'd have to have out a ton of line. So the more line you've got out, the less intense the fight's going to be. And catfish fights, even the big ones, they don't last very long compared to other fish species. Like catfish aren't designed, their bodies aren't made to have extended fights, extended battles. Flatheads will last longer than a blue, but still, it's a very, even on a big one, it's a short-lived fight. It's going to take you a few minutes, even on a big catfish. It ain't like a shark that's going to take you 2 or 3 hours to land. It just ain't like that. So I want those fights, those battles, to be as intense as possible. And the best way to do it, at least with rod and reel, is have your lines vertical under you, as short a line out as possible, and hang on, man, especially when you're in a kayak. So that was a good time. That was a good time right there. Going out there to them gentlemen's clubs in Las Vegas when they chauffeur you in a limo, that's a good time too, but it's a different kind of good time. Less expensive to go catfishing, especially when I got Ryan buying the bait here. Which them goldfish only $1 a piece. They weren't ridiculously priced. That's something though, ain't it? 3 rods go down. The one bait that I think it got hit but didn't get eaten was the goldfish. Let me just pick up. I hate to reel him up from 70 feet deep, but I can't tell if he's alive or not. And I want him alive. If he ain't, we're gonna switch him out. Yeah, he's still alive. He's still kicking. Down he goes. He didn't look like he was no worse for the wear. Maybe he didn't get hit. I thought he did. Well, the important thing is he's still alive and kicking. We'll send him down there and maybe he'll conjure us one up today. And if he don't, well, we'll know that's 2 days in a row that I fished with these things and can't get it. Yesterday I don't count because we couldn't catch fish on anything yesterday. But this is definitely going to make, with the fish we just got, this video is definitely going to see the light of day. So this is technically the first video I've ever filmed with goldfish, and so if it don't work out today, then we're going to know, at least the blues anyway, would prefer the cut bait over the goldfish today. Now I did get a big flathead there last week on a live yellow bass. I mean, it was a pretty good size yellow bass too. And he nailed it. I think it was my biggest flathead I've ever gotten on a live bait. I've caught bigger flatheads on cut bait, but I think it was my biggest of all time on live bait. And that fish that I got there last week, it was pretty deep too. It was, how deep was I fishing then? 50 feet deep, 52 feet deep, I believe, at that spot. So this time of year, you know, we're into fall, even though the thermometer don't feel like fall. But we're into fall, the leaves are starting to turn, days are getting shorter, and the flathead bite typically starts to pick up. And so I'm kind of wanting to suspend fish more, even though lately the bite has been better dragging. I've certainly caught more fish dragging lately. I don't catch flatheads dragging very often. Very low percentage play. Well, I do catch a bunch of them suspending baits like we're doing here. So I'm willing to sacrifice some numbers of fish right now in order to hopefully catch what I want to catch, which is big flathead. And so I've gotten 2 big flatheads on recent trips, and so I'm just kind of hitting spots that are places that I have historically gotten some good quality flatheads this time of year. This stretch of the river here, I've caught them in this hole, I've caught them on that point, that creek mouth up there, the next creek mouth up, on around the bend. Like, this stretch of the river here has been good to me, not only for blues, but also the big flatheads, which we're hopefully going to get. So I'm going to hit this area a little more. I'm probably going to go hit that creek mouth up there again at some point here in the next week or two. And, you know, just try to focus on places that have historically paid off with some big flatheads while working in some new places too to kind of test out to see the places that just look good on a map. It looks like they might hold a fish. I want to work some of those in too. I got to make a trip up to Ohio pretty soon here. I've talked about it ad nauseum in these videos, but I'm going to be moving away from this kayak. I'm getting a different kayak, most likely the Bonafide. If I see it in person and don't like it, I'm going to break down and get that NuCanoe Unlimited. But the dealer I'm going to buy from is supposed to be getting those kayaks in October 2nd. So by the time you're seeing this video, I think this one will come out first week of October, I think. I'm a few videos ahead still, so I think this one should be first week of October. You see this. I should already have a new kayak, if things go well. I got to take a look at that thing. I've got concerns. I was talking to Ryan about it yesterday. He's going to get him one too. And the way Ryan fishes, pulling boards most of the time and bumping, he's not going to have any problem rigging out that Bonafide for what he wants out of it, because he's going to put on a rod rack. Whereas me, I don't want a rod rack. I don't want that bar going across if I can avoid it, because it's going to take up floor space. I would rather have rod holders in front of me and behind me for when I'm suspending baits. That way I can space them out further, leave the floor open in front of me for landing big fish or carrying bait tanks, coolers, whatever, and have an option, like how I've rigged this kayak up, for instance. Let's say I'm going carp fishing. I've got another rod holder base on this side too of my mount, so I can use them tubular style rod holders and be able to have 2 rods here and 2 rods here. Fish 4 rods off the front, like if I'm casting out and fan casting and whatnot, but still keep them out of the way, keep the floor space open. So I want to be able to do a similar setup with the Bonafide. I know I can do that setup with the NuCanoe. There's enough people that I know that has the NuCanoe. I've seen their mounts and how they've done it. I know I can do it with that kayak. The way the gear tracks are on the Bonafide, the way they made that side trough, I guess you call it, to be able to lay rods down horizontally, I really wish they had. That's such a waste of space on that kayak. I wish they hadn't done that. It's going to make it very difficult to mount rod holders how I want to do it. Now, Ryan thought he might could, Ryan's good at making stuff, like with metal and welding and stuff. He thought he might could fabricate something for me. But I don't think you should have to work that damn hard to put a rod holder on. Like you should be able to do it easy. It's 2024. Like you shouldn't have to be fabricating mounts just to put a rod holder on that's going to be secure enough to catch catfish. So when they get them in up there at that dealer, I'm going to go, it's Raccoon Creek Outfitters in Ohio where I'm going to go get it at. I'm going to get in that kayak, I'm going to set in it. I might even take some gear with me. Take a bait cooler, take a live bait bucket. Put that stuff in there and kind of get a feel for where I'm going to be able to put my feet, put the stuff. How much space am I going to have for rod holders that ain't going to, you know, encroach on the bait bucket or cooler or whatever. And feel around on the kayak. See, is there any give, any weak spots? This kayak's 170 something pounds, so I mean there should be, it's a heavy kayak. It should be pretty stout, pretty heavy duty, one would think. Unlike the new canoe, which is a very lightweight kayak overall, it's half the weight of the Bonafide, so of course the plastic's going to be thinner in it. But either way, by the time you're seeing this video, unless something has come up and happened to keep me from going to Ohio, or unless there was some delay in Raccoon Creek Outfitters getting their first shipment of bona fide kayaks, by the time you're seeing this, I should have a new kayak. And this kayak, I've had some people, as I've talked about getting the new kayak in other videos, some people have asked what I'm going to do with this one. I will sell it at some point. I definitely want to get the other kayak rigged up before I cut this one loose. Now the motor, I've already got sold. A fella in our tournament club, he's already reached out to me about buying my motor and my battery, because I got a new motor that's going on the new kayak. A little bit bigger, more powerful motor. But the kayak itself, it will be available. The trailer will be available. I'm getting a new trailer, so I will get the kayak before I get the trailer. I think, unless something, I ordered this trailer back in, I think it was July 30th, I think. And they were about 90 days out. Headbait. Well, got tapped. Love tap. But the company I ordered the trailer from, they were about 90 days out in July there when I ordered it. So I'm going to end up getting the new kayak and getting it rigged up and everything before I get the new trailer. So ideally, I sell this kayak. I'd like to sell a package deal, sell the kayak and the trailer all together. So we'll see. I may have to wait a while to sell everything. Of course, selling something in the fall ain't the best time to do it as far as kayaks goes. That's when everybody else is selling their stuff. It's into season for most people. There's no off season for me. I fish year round, but a lot of the summertime people that just got a kayak to fish in the summer, they'll sell it in the fall. So there's more kayaks on the market in the fall. There's less demand to buy kayaks in the fall, so prices go way down, and so we'll see. I may wait till spring to sell it when there's more demand, but I'm out of carport space. I need some room on the carport. I know I can't fit another trailer and kayak both on my carport. So I don't know. We'll see. I'll probably list it, and if somebody wants it, they want it. I could break it apart, you know, sell the kayak separate from the trailer. The trailer will be the easiest to sell. This kayak's old. I've beat the hell out of it. It's in good shape. I mean, you can catch fish with it. Overall, I mean, it's functional, but it's heavily used. It's a heavily used 7-year-old kayak. I've not had it 7 years. I got it in 2019. I've had it 5, but it's heavily used. I've got the front bow up there. I've added plastic to multiple times just to kind of build it up where I run up on these concrete boat ramps and stuff. That'll go through a kayak plastic keel very quickly doing that. So I've had to add plastic to it. My skeg line's broke. I will clean it up and wash it before I list it for sale. I will get it looking new again. And I'll probably put the rod holders back in it. Not the kayak rod or the catfish rod holders. Those will obviously stay. I'll sell those with the kayak. But these Hobie kayaks, you maybe see those gray plates up there along the front hatch. Those used to be rod tubes, like you could lay rods horizontally and run them up in there. I had taken those out shortly after getting this kayak. I did it for 2 reasons. First off, they were leaking. If you threw a cast net and you bring the cast net in, you're standing forward on the kayak, you get a little water up there, it would get inside the hatch up there through them rod tubes. So I cut me a piece of cutting board, made it the size I needed, and then just siliconed around it there to seal that off so I don't get any leaks in there. The other thing, well, there's 2 things actually with the rod tubes. One, if you net and shad, they would be flopping around and get down in them tubes, and you couldn't get them out. And one time I come out, I think I put this on video, I kept smelling something. I kept smelling something that was dead. I'm like, where is that coming from? I had a shad flop down in that tube and die, and the flies got on it. It had maggots. There were maggots all in that dang rod tube where them flies had laid eggs in that dead shad. And it was nasty, man. It was absolutely nasty. And so I took them things out. And the other thing too, though, when I took it out, it opened up that front hatch, a bunch of space in there, which allowed, there goes the boat. I waved. I'm a nice guy. And I got my battery in that front hatch now because there's space for it. Now the rod tubes are gone, but I will probably put those back in because I think most people who would buy this kayak probably want the rod tubes. It's probably going to be a bass fisherman that buys this kayak from me. So I'll probably do that. But I mean, this kayak, it's beat to hell. It's heavily used, but there's still life in it. It'll be a good deal for somebody. But I'm ready to move on to a kayak that don't have a big front hatch that's going to fill up with water when I'm in rough conditions. That's my biggest thing. Like having that bow mount motor and the battery in the hatch, when I'm in rough water, I take water over the bow, it gets in the hatch, and it causes problems. It don't happen often. You got to be in really rough water to take water over the bow. But there's going to be a handful of times every year that happens to me. And when it does, it sucks. And sometimes it's just the way it is. You can't always avoid it. Sometimes the wind kicks up while you're on the water. Sometimes you've traveled somewhere to fish or fishing in a tournament, and the conditions just, maybe they suck that day. I don't want to be worried about sinking a kayak in those situations. So anyway, moving on from this kayak very soon, one way or another. Whether it's bona fide or the new canoe, we'll see. But I bought the motor, I bought the new battery, the trailer's ordered, going a whole new rig, whole different direction. Still going to keep my pedal kayak. That's my favorite kayak to fish out of. I love fishing out of my pedal kayak. It's smaller, it's more fun, it's a more simple setup. Can't hook 3 fish at a time in it because I only fish with 2 rods, but getting a double in that kayak's pretty damn fun because it's the smaller size. This new kayak I get, whether it's the Bonafide or the New Canoe, both going to be more stable than this kayak. So that will take away some of the fun, at least for me anyway. The fun of kayak fishing for me is the fact you're fishing in a kayak and you get the big takedowns and you get pulled over a little bit, and that's the fun for me. It's never been, kayak fishing for me has never been about trying to be like a poor man's boat. I've talked about that before. A lot of people get kayaks because they can't afford a boat. And if that's your motivation for getting a kayak because it's cheaper, don't get a kayak because you're going to regret it. It's not a boat. Even the more stable kayaks are not boats. You're not going to have the space, the stability. It's not going to be the same for you. You'd be better off just saving your money until you can get you the boat that you want. That's my opinion on it. I ain't telling you how to spend your money. I mean, if you want me to tell you how to spend your money, I will. I can come up with all kinds of stuff that you can buy me. My girlfriend bought me something the other night, y'all. You're going to make fun of me over this. I ought to even tell you, because I know how yous are. Yous make fun of me every chance you get, and I know you're going to make fun of me about this. So, I shouldn't tell you all this. I shouldn't do this. I'm going to catch so much hell for this. The hell, I already told you about me and the girlfriend getting our toes done and stuff. There ain't much more I can tell you that's going to be any worse than what you all already got on me. So I'll tell you, but let me give you the backstory in case this is your first video of mine you ever watched. And maybe some of you's missed this part. I talked about it, I don't know, a month ago, maybe. Anyway, I know I talked about it because I couldn't remember the guy's channel name. So anyway, bottom line is this, folks. I'll give you the kind of the Cliff's Notes recap here, and then I'll tell you what my girlfriend's bought me. So we were talking about G.I. Joes a month or two back. And we were talking about it because I was talking about like my earliest childhood memory. I was trying to think back, like how old was I, the first thing I can remember. And one of my first memories is Easter, getting an Easter basket, and it had a G.I. Joe in it. The very first G.I. Joe I ever got. And so I looked it up that day when we were talking about it on video here because I wanted to know, like, what year was that? I remember the figure. It was the barbecue G.I. Joe action figure. And we looked it up. It was 1985. So I would have been 3 years old. Would have just turned 3, I guess, because my birthday's in March and Easter's usually March or April. So I would have just turned 3. So I think that is my earliest childhood memory. But I remember getting the Easter basket, barbecue, G.I. Joe figure, how awesome that was. And that started my love for G.I. Joes from age 3 to, I don't remember when I stopped playing with G.I. Joes, honestly, 10, 11, 12. How old are you when you stop playing with toys? I don't remember. So we were looking that up. I was talking about it on video. And you know how our phones are these days. They listen constantly. Anything we're talking about, our phones are listening to see if they can somehow market to us. They're collecting all this data, the Googles, the AT&Ts, Verizons, Facebooks, they're all listening in. to try to target us. Whatever we're talking about, interested in, willing to buy, they want to feed us advertisements on it. So I had talked about G.I. Joes that day. Next thing I know, I'm on YouTube, man, here's all these damn G.I. Joe videos. And I come across this guy, and I've subscribed to his channel. His channel name is Mike the Hunter, and some kind of numbers off beside. It's totally not, his channel name is not related to G.I. Joes at all, but Mike the Hunter and then some numbers, whatever those are. And this guy collects action figures, G.I. Joes specifically, and he makes movies with them. And some of these G.I. Joe, because a bunch of them have popped up, especially after I clicked on his. And some of these channels, they will do it in a very, it's a piss poor production way. Like they will take these action figures and they'll pose them and they'll take a picture. And then they'll change the pose and take another picture. And they'll do that 1,000 times and then put it on video, so it looks like the figure is moving, even though it's just 1,000 different pictures. And I hate that, because to do that, it's called stop motion. That's what they call it. The video kind of has to stop, like it's chopped up, right? And that drives me crazy. I just can't. It's a pet peeve of mine with YouTube. I can't. There's so many YouTubers. Especially, I don't know if it's all YouTubers or just in the fishing genre, but like people will be talking on camera and I don't know if they fumble their words, if they're just stupid, if they're trying to hide something from you, I don't know, but they will piece their sentences together. Like they'll film an intro 3 or 4 times and piece their sentences together. And you can see that they've done it because you'll see the screen, you can see the clips in the video if you're watching closely, like especially if there's something going on behind them, or maybe they're driving down the road, you'll see the background changing where it's chopping. I hate that. That's a huge pet peeve of mine. Any YouTuber that does that, like, I ain't watching your crap, okay? If you can't communicate with me, if you can't talk like a normal human being, because that's not how we communicate in real life. Nobody pieces their sentences together in real life. There's no editing in a real conversation like we're having here right now, me and you, right? Like it's just not, it's not authentic. So I hate it. So anyway, I hate those stop motion videos. I can't watch them. But this Mike the Hunter guy, his are different. He takes G.I. Joe action figures and he moves them with his hand, but he's so good at it, you don't see his hand moving. So it looks like the figures are moving. They're having their battles, their fight scenes and all that. He does voiceovers for them. Every character, every G.I. Joe has their own voice. His Cobra Commander voice, excellent. He does an amazing Cobra Commander impersonation. And he writes these scripts for these G.I. Joe movies that he makes. Some of them are 2 hours long, I kid you not. I mean, these are full-on movie production, action figure movies. They're amazing. How this guy doesn't have more subscribers and more views, I don't understand it, because his work is phenomenal. He's one of the best YouTubers that I've seen. And so I went down the rabbit hole, man. Like, I'm watching his stuff. I'm into it. Of course, you know, I grew up with the G.I. Joes. I love them. And now he's making these, and they're great. And so he's using the 6-inch G.I. Joe action figures. The ones when we were kids back in the 80s, they were like 3.5 inches. And that's the ones that I still got a bunch of them. But these 6-inch ones, they've come out with in the last few years, they're so much more detailed. And I had seen them in the stores before and hadn't really given them a second look because they weren't, to me, it just wasn't their G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe's supposed to be 3.5 inches. But after watching this guy's videos, I'm like, man, I want me some G.I. Joes. I want me some of them big 6-inch G.I. Joe figures, man. Like, they're so cool. I got to have some. And I talked myself out of it, right? Like, I'm like, Justin, you don't need no damn G.I. What would I do with G.I. Joe figures? I'm 42 years old. What the hell am I going to do with action figures? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a kid anymore. I don't even know how to play with toys anymore. My imagination's broken. But I watch this guy's videos. I'm watching him play with these action figures, and I'm like, I want some action figures. I want some G.I. Joes. So my girlfriend, she bought me G.I. Joe. Y'all, she got me Barbecue. Barbecue, just the same figure that I got in 1985 in my Easter basket. She bought me the same one. Now, it's the 6-inch version, you know, the new one. But it is so freaking awesome. Man, I love it. I want them all. I want them all now. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but I want them all. So, it's about the best present she could have gotten me. And I know that y'all are going to make fun of me endlessly for this, but it's an amazing, I mean, it's so detailed. And these figures, I opened it up out of the package. I put these weapons on it and everything. And you're supposed to not do that. If you open something up out of the package, it's less valuable. I don't even care about it being worth something. It's worth more to me to open it up and play with the daggone thing, or at least try to remember how to play with it. So I opened this figure up, man. So I got me G.I. Joe. We got a fish over here, just hit that line. We've had another long stretch of nothing going on after them other fish worked through. I should have brought my G.I. Joe action figure out here to play with it while we were waiting on the fish to bite. But yeah, she got me Barbecue. That's his name. He's a firefighter G.I. Joe. And it is awesome. They had it at Target online. She's a Target member or club or hell, I don't know. All these, Amazon's got their Prime thing. Walmart's got something. I guess Target does too. And so anyhow, she's on Target. And I guess she gets free shipping if she orders something on there, and they give her coupons occasionally. So she got 20% off a toy coupon. Now, I don't know why the hell they consider a G.I. Joe action figure a toy in 2024, because kids ain't playing with them. It's adults like me that's clinging on to their childhood. I'm going through a midlife crisis or something. But she got that action figure for 20% off, which it's expensive. The thing's like $25 a piece. But she got it on discount, and it's the same one that was my first one that I had. And it's awesome. Now, when you hold that figure, like I got my old G.I. Joe figures out a while ago. It was after I was talking about them with you all on video. I got them out. I got this repair kit on eBay. Because them G.I. Joes, when we were little, they had a rubber O-ring that held them together. And after 40 years, that rubber O-ring has rotted and disintegrated. Especially on my G.I. Joes, because I mean, I played with them things in the creek. Like my G.I. Joes got played with. They weren't setting up on a shelf being displayed. Like, they were played with. We had battles, okay? G.I. Joe versus Cobra, I mean, they were... When I pulled these G.I. Joes out of this box, some of them still had their arms and legs tied behind their back. Like, they had been captured, they had been prisoners of war for 40 years when I took these things out. But I took them apart, well, the ones that was falling apart anyway, and used that repair kit I got on eBay there. And that repair kit, I don't remember, it was like $10, something like that. And it had enough supplies to fix like 10 G.I. Joes. I mean, 100 G.I. Joes, 10 G.I. Joes, 100 of them. And it was real easy to do. There's one screw that you unscrew on the G.I. Joe's back, and you pop him open, and you just replace that rubber O-ring and put his arms and head back in and put the screw back in. It's easy. I mean, you can do it very quickly. But yeah, I had done that. And I'd had them things out while I was repairing them and whatnot, and you hold them and they're like, I guess because as adults our hands are so much bigger than what they are when we're 7, 8 years old, they don't seem to fit your hand right. Like they seem smaller now than what they did when we were kids. But when you get these new ones that are 6 inches, and you hold that in your hand, it feels comparable to the way it did when we were kids because it's more proportionate to our hand size. They really, man, they've got them dialed in, buddy. They are marketing to us, and it's worked. It has worked. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with G.I. Joe action figures, but I'm into them. I'm into them, man. Like, hook, line, and sinker, their marketing tactics has worked on me. I'm into them. It's this Mike the Hunter YouTube channel. It's his fault. But Google, Facebook, and all of them, they heard me talking on that video that day about G.I. Joes. Next thing you know, I'm on social media. They're feeding me G.I. Joe videos. I go down the rabbit hole watching, and next thing you know, I'm buying G.I. Joes. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to end up buying every damn one of them. So this marketing strategy stuff, it works, and I'm consciously aware of it working. That's what's most frustrating. I see what they're doing to me. I see it, but I can't stop it because I want them. So, got me G.I. Joe, y'all. Go ahead and make fun of me. I feel like y'all took it easy on me over getting my toes done. When I told the story about the first time I got my toes done a few months ago, which was kind of set up to be a joke by my parents because I'd made fun of them for getting their toes done. And I ended up liking, now I go every few weeks when my toenails grow out. I ain't cut my toenails in months. But I really expected for y'all to give me hell about that. But surprisingly, a lot of yous, come to find out, a lot of y'all go get your toes done. I never see another man in them places. It's always old women. But girls, my girlfriend, I don't know if she's ever cut her toenails. I don't know if she'd know how to cut her toenails because she always goes to them places. She gets her fingernails. I ain't done my fingernails. I cut them my damn self. But she goes and gets her fingernails done there too. But I just knew for sure y'all's gonna revoke my man card and give me hell about it, but you didn't. My girlfriend was upset last time. She wouldn't admit to it, but I could see it in her face. As we got something tap that rod up there. We need some more fish to work through here, y'all. We had 3 fish all come on there at once, and now we've went another long spell here, nothing happening. But my girlfriend, last time we got her toes done, it's probably about time to have them done again, but we went in this place we've been going, and we went to a different one. We went to the one my parents go to first, and I didn't like that place too much. I had this old woman do my toes the first time, and then a man done them the second time. And I ain't trying to be all homophobic or anything, but I don't want some dude touching my feet, okay? I'm weird about it. Like, I want some, if I go to a place like this, I want some hot chick doing my feet. So anyway, we switched locations. And because these little Asian spas, they're all over town, man. There's 5 or 6 of them in my town. And so we've been going to this other place. And we walked in last time. The time before last, I got this hot girl. But she was having a bad day. She was crying. And she was into it with her boss. I guess it was her boss. Because I think she had, best I could translate, there was a lot of languages. I'm pretty sure there was Chinese and Spanish and some broken English in there. And best I could figure, she had charged somebody the wrong price, like way undercharged them. And she was in trouble, and she was upset. And I didn't have a very good time in there. Like, I mean, she was going to town on my toes a little too hard with that file. So anyway, this past time though, I get an old woman again. And this old woman comes up and sits down in front of my feet, and I could see the smirk on my girlfriend's face, because she don't want me getting one of these hot girls doing my feet. Like she won't say that it bothers her, but it bothers her. I can see it in her face. Because when we got the time before last, when I got the hot girl, I could see it, man. She was jealous. But this past time, I get this old woman, and she wears this goofy hat. I've seen her in there before. She's always got the same, she looks like the Hamburglar, honestly, because she wears the same outfit every time I've seen her. I don't know if it's just coincidence every time we've been in there, or if she just wears the same clothes every day. But it's like a black and white shirt with stripes. I mean, she literally looks like the Hamburglar. You remember the McDonald's character? That's what she looks like. And she's got this goofy hat on. Not like the Hamburglar hat, but it's like a beret almost. Like, you remember Flint in G.I. Joe? He had that beret. This is what she wears to go along with her Hamburglar shirt. But anyhow, she sits down in front of me. And I had this woman once before. And I remember my girlfriend was a little jealous back then too. But anyway, she sits down in front of me, and I see the smirk on my girlfriend's face, because, you know, she's happy that I didn't get one of the hot chicks. At least she thought she was going to be happy. So this woman, she goes to town on my feet. There's a process. If you go get your toes done, it's about an hour-long deal, right? Like you in there for an hour. It ain't just clipping your toenails and 5 minutes later you're out the door. Like, it's a process. So this woman, she's going to town, and one of the hot chicks sits down in front of my girlfriend. So my girlfriend, she's got the hot chick, I got the old lady. I see the smirk on my girlfriend's face. She's happy about it. Or so she thinks. Well, the hot chick goes, she's working on the girlfriend's toes there. And it's a longer process on my girlfriend's toes than it is mine, because she gets her toenails painted. And no, I ain't getting my toenails painted, y'all bunch of weirdo perverts out there. No, I don't do that. But my girlfriend does. So they have to take the paint off of her toes before they can start doing the normal work that they do. And then, when the normal pedicure is done, they put new toenail paint on her toes. So, all things being equal, the girlfriend's pedicure takes longer time than mine does. So if we're there in a normal situation, I'm gonna be sitting there while she's still getting worked on. It's gonna take about 10, 15 minutes longer on hers than it will be mine, right? Well, we both get started on the same time. The old woman's doing me, the hot chick's doing her. And did that rod up there get hit? Did I imagine that? Something is after it. I wish it'd go down with the fish. Something hit it again. I hit it a third time. Tell that fish, I see him down there on the screen too. Look at this. Right there he is. You see him? You tell that fish to leave that bait alone if he ain't going to commit to it. We ain't offering a free snack here. You either get the full meal and the hook, or nothing at all, fish. Don't interrupt my story. It's a story time, fish. If you ain't, the only interruptions we're going to have is if we're reeling in a fish. So if you're just going to nip it, don't interrupt the story. These people are dying to hear what happened the last time I got my toes done. I know yous are. Ain't nobody clicking off right now. I know yous ain't. You might have fast forwarded, but you heard me talking about my toes and hot Asian chicks. You're going to stick around. So anyhow, old woman and the hot Asian chick, they start our toes at the same time. Well, We get toward the end, and this woman, man, the old lady, she looks like the Hamburglar. I mean, this looks ridiculous. But she does strong work. I mean, she goes above and beyond because she's done with my feet. Normally, I would be done. And the girlfriend would be getting extra time because she's got to get hers painted and everything. Not today. Not that day anyway. This woman, she goes to the back, and next thing I know, she comes out with this tool. And she's already taken the cheese grater to my feet on my corns and stuff. I mean, there's a whole pile of dead skin where she was raking my corns. And she had already took the ice pick and got down in my nail beds and picked out all that skin. She's already done all that. But she goes to the back and gets this tool, and it looks like a, well, it looks like an adult toy, honestly, when she first comes out, because she comes out and she turns it on, and I'm like, I gave the girlfriend a look because I thought it was something inappropriate. But next thing I know, she's hooking like a, I don't know what you call it, like a large Dremel tool piece to the top of it. And that thing starts spinning. It's like a sander. And next thing I know, she's taking that damn what I thought was an adult toy initially. Next thing you know, she's got it hooked up like a sander, and she's taking it to my corns. She's grinding them damn things down. And so she works on that a little while. And then she starts massaging my feet again. And at this point in time, the girlfriend, she's already done. Like, she's had everything done. Her toenails are painted. Like, she's just waiting on them to dry so we can leave. And this woman, she's still going to town on me. So I ended up getting like 15 extra minutes of foot handling time. And so the girl, she was all just smirking there initially because I got that old woman. But by God, she went above and beyond for me. I ended up getting more time that the girlfriend didn't get, so she ended up being jealous in the end. I told her, I'm like, look, you're going to be jealous one way or the other. You're either going to let me have the hot chick, or I'm going to get the old woman who's going to do a better job than the hot chick. Because them young girls, you know, they're young. They're going to do the bare minimum they can do. Nobody wants to go to work. Whether you're working on toes or working a normal job, ain't nobody wants to do their damn job in 2024. It's a bare minimum society we live in. But this old lady, she took pride in her work, man. She went back there and found that damn Dremel tool that looked like something I ain't gonna talk about and grinded my corns down, buddy. My feet, they never looked better. They never felt better than when she was done. Now, I told the girlfriend, I don't know what that woman's name is. I don't think she speaks any English. If she does, like everything with me and her, it's point. Like they hand you a menu list, and I pick the cheapest pedicure thing. I point at it, and you know my girlfriend, like she has to pick out what color polish, and she points at it because this woman, I don't think she speaks any English. But I don't know what her name is, but I would like to request her. And I don't know if you can request somebody in one of them places, especially as a man. That would seem like a little bit of a pervert if I went in there. Because if I could do that, obviously I would request the hottest one in there. But now, after this woman, I told a girlfriend, I was like, if it's socially acceptable for me to request somebody, I think I want the Hamburglar doing my feet from now on because she did such an amazing job. So, yeah, y'all. If some of you fellas out there, if you're on the fence about getting your toes done, and I understand why you would be, because it is a little bit sissy boy to have something like that done. But I tell you, I've gotten into it. The first time was traumatic when they take that ice pick to your nail beds and they take that cheese grater to your corns. It's traumatic. There's probably still claw marks where I was hanging on for dear life the first time it happened. But now that I know what to expect, it can still get a little rough sometimes with that file and the cheese grater. And sometimes when they rubbing on your feet, they'll take their thumb and their thumbnail and get like into the bottom of your foot there, and that's a little much. That's a little intense sometimes. But now I admit I'm kind of into it. I'll probably never cut my toenails again. And the girlfriend, she loves it. Like if you got a girlfriend or a wife and you take them out for a spa day, fellas, let me tell you, your chances of having a good night when you get home improves greatly because you've took your lady out for a spa day. And she thinks it's all about her, but really, you're gonna get your toes done. You're gonna enjoy it too. And then when she goes to work the next day or meets up with her girlfriends at the Rotary Club or whatever the hell women hang out at, arts and crafts festival, whatever your lady's got going on in their lives, she's gonna tell all her girlfriends about how her man went to the spa with her. And all her girlfriends are gonna be super jealous that their boyfriends and husbands don't do that with them. And women are all about making their girlfriends jealous. Kind of like men, when a man catches a bigger fish than his friends, he likes to put it on social media and be like, ha ha, you assholes, I'm better than you. I've caught a bigger fish than you. Look at me. Women do that too, but they do it in a different way. They gotta make their friends jealous in different ways. They gotta be more subtle about it. So they can go in and just say, hey, my boyfriend, he took me out for a spa day. We got her toes done. And all her friends right there, she's just talking about her day. But all her friends are super jealous because their boyfriends' husbands ain't gonna do that. So you fellas, I'm trying to give you some relationship advice here. You take your lady out, get your toes done. Go get your pedicure. You're gonna like it. You're gonna get to have, hopefully, a hot Asian chick rubbing all over your feet. You may get the old one, it's possible. It's happened to me. I've had an old woman more times than I've had a young hot one in there. And statistically, that shouldn't be possible because it's like all hot chicks, one old one and a dude. Like that's who works at these places. It's 99% hot chicks. So the fact that I continually get the old woman, a little suspect. I almost feel like I've been set up on it. But if you get the old woman, maybe she's professional. Maybe she's gonna take more pride in shaving them corns down than the young hot one anyway. And if your girlfriend or wife gets one of the hot Asian chicks, well, you just divert your attention from the one that's sitting in front of you. You just turn your head over to the right or the left, and you look at that one. So, anyway, bottom line, fellas, don't just immediately dismiss it, because it's kind of sissy boy type thing. Your girlfriend or wife is going to love you for it. You're going to win some brownie points with her, and you're going to end up liking it. So, yeah. If your girlfriend or wife is sitting through this crap that you're watching right now, you're sitting on the couch, you got a bag of Doritos, you're watching me out here not catch fish at the moment, and your girlfriend or wife is sitting right there with you, watching and listening to this crap, you owe it to her to go to the Asian spa with her. And these young women today, I'm telling you, all of them go to these spas. I don't know that I've ever dated a girl that didn't go get her fingernails and toenails cut. Like, it's something they all do. I don't know. And with women, I guess you kind of pick up on how to cut your toenails and fingernails and stuff because when we're kids, our parents do it. And I guess that's how we learn how to do it. I don't remember anybody ever sitting down and teaching me how to cut my fingernails or toenails. I feel like I just kind of learned. But I don't know that these women today, I don't know if anybody ever taught them. They sure as hell don't teach them how to cook and clean no more. They don't teach them kind of things anymore. That's sexist for me to even say that. But you know it's true, they don't. I just gave you all free relationship advice. I don't care what's going on in your relationship or your marriage, how bad things might be at the moment. If you go in there to your lady and you say, honey, I want to take you out for a terrific lady day. We're going to go get our toes done. I'm going to take you out for a nice dinner. Your relationship just instantly gets better. I promise you, no matter what you're going through, it's going to get a little bit better. You may still fight afterwards the next day, but for that couple hour window while you're getting your toes done and having dinner somewhere, things are going to be improved in your relationship. I need my own TV show, really. I should write a book on this kind of stuff. You think somebody like me, 42 years old, never been married, never really had a successful relationship before, you think somebody like me could write a how-to book on relationship advice? I bet somebody would buy the damn thing. You put a nice title and cover on a hardback book, I bet you somebody would. I might sell one copy, but by gosh, somebody would buy it. How to save a relationship. I'd come up with some goofy ass title. I can't think of nothing off the top of my head, but that's my next $1 million idea right there. I can't catch fish on video right now, apparently, so I'm gonna have to write me a how to save your relationship type book, a self-help book. I'd rather be catching fish right now than writing a book, but I can't seem to do that. We had them fish work through, and now they're gone, and now we wait again. And that's how it will be. That's how it's going to be with catfishing regardless. But if you're fishing like Ryan does, and you're pulling boards, or if you're below the dam and you're bumping, you're working that bait down, when you're going through the dry spells and not catching fish, you may have hour break between fish, maybe 2 hour break between fish. But the whole time you're doing something. You're either moving and pulling boards, or you're actively working that bait while you're bumping below the dam. Like you're physically doing something the whole time. When you're set up like we are today and you're spot locked, dropping baits down right under you, once our baits are down, we're done. And so we're just kicked back. Hell, I got my feet set up here. I'm going to relax. So when you go a long period of time between bites in this situation, maybe it's a little bit more noticeable, a little bit more obvious than when you are pulling boards or bumping or something, right? Like it's just, you're just going to notice it more, I guess. But it's all in what you like. Either way, you're going to have downtime between bites. These people pulling boards and bumping, they're not catching one fish after another continuously. Maybe some days, if you're on a good bite, sure. Some days, if we're on a good bite, we'll be catching them one after another while we're just sitting here. But in reality, most days, if say you're pulling boards, you go through some fish, you catch them, you go through a dead stretch on a ledge or flat or whatever it is you're fishing, and you get on some more fish, right? Well, in this situation, because we're not moving, we're needing the fish to come to us, we're just waiting. We had them fish work through. When they did, we caught them. Now we need some more fish to work through. And they're going to periodically work up and down this ledge. I don't know that there's any fish in here just sitting in this hole right now, but as they work around this ledge here, we're going to have a chance at catching more today. And there will. It's just a matter of time. I don't know when they will come through, but I'm sure they will at some point, because we're kind of in their path as they go point A to point B. The way this hole, the way the ledge funnels down here, and I'll try to show you on the map a little bit. Over here on this side is the land, and it comes off at a steep angle, and you can see the contour lines, how they're really tight right there, signifying the steeper drop. Over here on this side, you've got a flat over there, and it comes off, and a more gradual decline. But it all still, this gradual decline here and the steeper decline here, it converges here in this hole. So as fish work along the bottom of the contour, no matter which side they're on, and they start to come out of this hole, here we are. So fish working up and down through here, they got to come through our baits. And so we just got to put in the time to be able to wait them out, basically. Now, whether it'll happen again before I leave here today, I don't know. I certainly hope it does. For whatever reason lately, no matter where I've fished, it seems like it's taken an hour or two to kind of get a bite going. The sunrise bite has been non-existent on recent trips. Don't know why. Just the timing of it, I guess. Fish are waiting a little later. I don't know. And it's possible too. Ryan yesterday was going on about how we should be in the shallows and whatnot, and maybe the bite is better in the shallows right now. But what I told Ryan, same thing I'll tell you. And those of you that watch regularly, you know I don't really like fishing shallow all that much. I no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm suspending, whether I'm anchored and casting baits out, whether I'm dragging, I like fishing deep structure, because there's always going to be some fish deep. Fish will be shallow part of the time. This time of year, you start getting into fall, they're going to be shallow more frequently. They'll be more shallow more frequently in the spring. They'll move up more often, they'll stay there longer. But there's always going to be some fish on deep structure. Fish don't, these big cats, they're not up there living in the shallows. They're going to retreat back to deeper water. So because that's more of a high percentage play, that's how I want to spend my time. Like, I want to spend my time on the higher percentage play. When you fish the shallows, and don't get me wrong, it's fun. I love catching fish in the shallows. But actively fishing in the shallows, I don't really like it all that much, because you run into some problems. If you're casting baits out, first off, I don't like suspending baits at all in water that's less than 20 feet deep. I just feel like it's too close to the kayak. I don't get bit as often. You can catch some fish, certainly suspending baits less than 20 feet, but it's not the best play, in my opinion. I'd rather be if I'm going to be sitting still in shallow water, I'd rather be casting baits out. And if you do that in the shallows, say you got a piece of cut bait, the turtle's going to be all over it. They're going to tear it up in no time. They're going to chew it to shreds, or the channel cat's going to chew it to shreds. So it's hard to leave a bait out in a shallow water area for very long, because it's just going to get tore up. So if there ain't fish there, when you first cast that bait out, you're going to have to go through a lot of bait on a shallow water trip, a lot more than what you are if you're fishing deep. The other thing is, let's say you want to avoid the turtles. Well, you can drag through the shallows. The turtles aren't going to chase that piece of cut bait down as much as what they're, if you throw it out and it's just sitting there on bottom, they're going to be all over it. But if you're actively moving it, you're not going to have as much problem with the turtles. But here's what you are going to have problems with. Snags. Because all of these backwater creeks are full of debris and brush piles that crappie fishermen's put out. And so you're going to be constantly pulling through that and staying snagged and stuff. Now, one of the ways that I avoid that is by fishing under balloons, right? Like I'll suspend a bait 3 or 4 feet down under a balloon and pull through the shallows. That way I kind of go over the top of the brush piles without having a sinker dragging through it. And that can be effective depending on where the fish are at, how deep they are and whatnot. But it's a very, hold on, look at this, that bird, look at that osprey over, you see him? He got something off the water surface there. I thought he was going to make a dive down into it, but the fish in the shallows are just not there very long and very often. So you got to time it right, or else you either ain't going to catch nothing, or you're going to get channel catted or turtled. And I don't care what time of year it is, 7 days a week, 365, regardless of weather, wind, water conditions, whatever, you're always going to have a chance at catching fish on deep structure. Now, if you're in a place, maybe a lake or a reservoir, don't have a lot of water movement and it's middle of summer, maybe you might have a thermocline. Fish will be up higher. They may still be over deep structure, but they might be higher in the water column. That's one of the things, it's an individual body of water, you got to figure that out. Now, where I fish, we have enough water movement, we usually don't get a thermocline. But if you have a thermocline, that certainly may affect what depth the fish are at. But in a situation like where I fish Tennessee River, you're always going to have some fish deep. 7 days a week, 365, if you got a bait on deep structure, you're always going to have a chance. That is not the case if you're fishing up shallow. So it's a percentage play for me. Sure, there could be a great bite going on in the shallows right now. But coming out here, knowing what little I know, I know the percentage play is for me to fish deep structure. Now, I didn't pan out yesterday. I think it was Ryan. I think he was a jinx. But today we've at least got 3. When they moved through, we had a pack of fish come through, we at least got 3. So we're still on pace right now for a fish an hour average, what I was hoping for. Where are we on time? I may go ahead and put on a new skipjack, just spruce things up. Since we got some extra. We'll see what we can do here with this. We'll put a new head on, a couple new chunks. When we reel in our other chunks, we'll cut them up and do like I did there with the others and just kind of chum the area. Yeah, we'll try it. We had a couple taps there in the last, I don't know, hour or so probably at this point. Probably not really big enough to amount to anything, but it's just baiting and waiting, man. You gotta put the time in, wait on the next round of fish to work through, and when they do and you're in position, you catch them. If you're the type of person like me that you can tolerate sitting around, I didn't always used to be this way. I used to be very impatient. But over the course of time, just, putting the time into it and making myself do it, having some success, well, it's a good thing we didn't get bit on that. My fly was all messed up on my leader there. That one's been, they've chewed the gills out of it anyway. But over time, you develop confidence, and that allows you to kind of ride it out the slow periods a little bit more easily. At least it does for me anyway. Like I've got a ton of confidence in what we're doing. I can look at that map and know fish are going to work through here at some point. So let's say I come out here today and I had fished for 4 or 5 hours and got completely skunked. Would that deter me from ever coming back here again or doing this style of fishing again? Heck no. Because I would know that just my timing was off on whatever day I got skunked. As this rod over here gets hit, that fish wanted that bait. He heard we was about to change it out, and he said, well, I guess I better go take a bite of it. We'll reel in this other one here first. I ain't gonna reel up our goldfish again. Ain't nothing hit him, so he should still be alive down there. I am very impressed how hardy them things are. Not impressed with their fish catching ability right now, but impressed with the hardiness. But yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of developing your confidence, and if you can sit still, if it don't bother you to wait out a bite, I mean, it's my favorite way to fish. I've caught a bunch of big fish doing this. I've had skunk days too. Either being in the right place, wrong time, or just the wrong place. Sometimes you look at a spot on a map and it looks amazing. It looks like it should just have fish there regularly. And you just won't ever get a bite. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know what it is about that particular spot. But something about it just, they've took the bait off this. That last fish that hit that rod picked our hook clean. It's gone. Y'all call the law. One of them stole from us. Call that cop down there that found Ryan's kayak. He can actually get something done. Tell him that guy that stole Ryan's kayak just stole our bait. Dadgummit. Danged old fish. They ain't right for them to be stealing from us now. But yeah, I mean, there's a place, and it's here on Fort Loudon. It's a point. And it looks, I mean, it's a perfect looking point. The tip of it's about 40 feet deep, which is a good depth out here. It goes, there's a nice creek that runs back up in there, out the main channel. Like it just looks like it should have some fish on it. And because of that, I have spent a ton of time trying to catch fish on that particular point. I can't catch anything on it, folks, ever. Now, I've tried it all different seasons. I've tried all kinds of different baits. I've fished it different ways. Like, I just cannot, for the life of me, catch any fish on that point. Now, the next point down river from there, I've caught a ton of fish on. I've filmed a bunch of videos on that point. But the point I'm talking about that looks even better than the one I've caught a bunch of fish on, can't buy a bite. Why is that? I don't know. But they just, for whatever reason, the fish just don't like that point. And Buck Perry talked about that. You know, I'm a big Buck Perry guy. That's how I learned how to read all these maps and stuff through the Buck Perry teachings. He talked about that. It's like you can have good structure that won't hold fish, but you won't find good fish without good structure. Something along, I'm butchering his saying. He had some clever, witty saying that I'm totally butchered. But the point is that you open up a map and you find places that just looks like it should have fish. Sometimes you're going to find places like that just fish just don't use for whatever reason. They just don't like it. But most of the time, when you catch fish, it's gonna be on places like that, good structure. You're not gonna find fish just randomly out in the middle of nowhere, good quality fish anyway, very often. If they're out in the middle of nowhere, there's a reason for it. Maybe they're out chasing bait on a flat. Maybe they're actively chasing a school of shad, and they're kind of out, higher in the water column, out over the main lake or something. Sure, there's going to be situations like that. But just when fish are just in their normal day-to-day lives, when they're moving from deep water to shallow water to feed, or just kind of resting, they're going to be on structure, man. That's where you're going to catch them. And when I started following those Buck's teachings, that's when my catch rate really went up. Not only numbers of fish, but also just quality of fish too, just size of fish. I started catching more fish more frequently and bigger fish more frequently. And so Buck was ahead of his time. He come up with his teachings, his theories, man. He figured all that out before the days of all this fancy technology. Buck Perry made his own maps back in the day. He designed his spoon plug lure so that he could not only catch fish, but so that he could map areas. Because in his day, some lakes might have a paper contour map, but there wasn't no graphs, there wasn't no navionics. Nowadays, most every body of water that I fish has been mapped to some point in time, whether it's navionics or what's the one Humminbird uses? Sea maps or something. There's all kinds of different, whether it's on your phone through an app or through a map card that you put in your graph, there's all kinds of contour maps for all these bodies of water. Now, some places, like you take the Ohio River, they're garbage. The Ohio River's always changing. It could be the depth, the water level changes all the time, depending on how much rain. So you can't trust them in those situations. But for a reservoir, for a lake, you find you a map card of some kind, navionics, whatever, the work's done for you. You don't have to spend time getting out there and mapping and figuring out where stuff's at. You can just pull it up and see everything. So I can't imagine as many big fish as Buck Perry caught, if he had had access to today's technology. Man, I mean, I can't even fathom how much better he would have done. Because imagine the places that he would be mapping. He spent so much time just mapping a body of water. That would be time now that he could spend fishing. What Buck would do, he'd be pulling his spoon plugs along, trolling. He'd hook a fish, he'd throw out a marker, turn around, make some casts, in case the school was there. Nowadays, hell, if Buck Perry had live scope, he could turn around, shine that live scope and say, well, there's either fish there or they ain't. And if they ain't, he'd be right back moving again. He'd save a ton of time. So, I mean, to the technology today, the technology that he didn't have, technology, I'm trying to think of the way to properly word this. Technology is only as good as the person using it, okay? I have live scope on this kayak today. I 100% admit I suck at live scope. I've had this thing like 3 years now. If you told me today I had to go out and catch catfish with that live scope, if my life depended on it, I'm probably gonna die today. Because I suck at it. I'm not good at live scope. So just because I've got the latest, greatest, fanciest technology because I'm not good at it, it don't really benefit me. Now, sure, I could roll down into this hole today and shine that thing around and look, and if there's fish there, great, and if they ain't, who cares? Because I'm gonna sit here anyway, I'm waiting on fish to come through. So all I need is that map card, and I need depth so that I can confirm where I think I am, and I can fish how I'm doing today. I don't need that live scope. But you put that live scope, you put it on somebody's boat or kayak of somebody that knows how to use it, somebody that's good at it, boy, it's a valuable tool. And so I think about somebody sometimes like Buck Perry, who was so far ahead of his time with his theories and his teachings on structure fishing. I mean, he literally, all the terms we use today for structure fishing, Buck Perry created them. I mean, it's amazing when you look back at like that stuff. Like, he's literally the godfather of structure fishing. If you had took somebody like him that was an amazing fisherman with no technology, and you take somebody like him that could take what he already knew and learn this newfangled stuff, man, there's no telling what he could have accomplished. And it's sad in a way that nobody gives Buck Perry credit for what all he done for the sport of fishing. All forms of fishing. I mean, Buck was a bass fisherman. That's what he loved. Bass, largemouth, smallmouth bass. But I mean, I've applied his work to catfishing too. A fish is a fish is a fish. They all use structure. They might use it in different ways. They might set up on it different places on particular structure, but they all use it. And so Buck has done a lot for all forms of fishing, but he gets virtually no credit for it. I've got bass fishing friends don't even know who the hell he is. They never heard of the guy. I'll get to talking sometimes and bring up Buck Perry, like, who the hell's that? They know Bill Dance. They know Kevin Van Dam, Roland Martin. They never heard of Buck Perry. Because the greatest fisherman as Buck Perry was, he was a terrible marketer. And of course, in his day and time, this was way back before internet and social media and all that. It was pretty much just magazine articles and newspaper stories. And unfortunately, Buck, he's long since dead, and the people he taught his teachings to, they're old now too. Don Dixon, probably his most famous student, I guess, at least claims to be, and he's got a YouTube channel and he explains some of that stuff, but unfortunately he's had some health problems, I think. And when he started his channel, I had high hopes. I was very eager to watch Don Dixon apply Buck Perry's teachings in video form, but unfortunately he didn't really. He does a good job teaching. Like, he explains Buck Perry's books that he wrote. I've read them. I think I've tried to read everything I can find of Buck Perry, whether he wrote it, interviews that was done with him. Like, I've tried to absorb every bit of knowledge I possibly can. But it's still nice to sometimes hear it in a different voice or in a different way. We all learn in different ways. You can have two different teachers teaching you the same thing, but maybe you pick up something or learn it easier from one person versus another. So Don Dixon's done a good job of explaining Buck's teachings verbally. And some of his stories are certainly entertaining. But what I was hoping for when he had started his channel a few years back was to apply Buck's teachings on the water. As we got back rod here, we got a little love tap. The rod tip just stood straight up too. I think he still maybe has the bait. Tell that fish I want to play. He just dropped it. Tell that fish I'm ready to catch another one, by gosh. It's been a long time. Here I was thinking, come out here, try to average a fish an hour, and then we got 3 in a row, and I thought, well, we're gonna bust that average today, and now we're back on pace for it. But no, when Don Dixon started that channel, I had hoped that he would take Buck's teachings, get out on the water, and go to a lake and be like, look, if you showed up here, you don't know this body of water, here's how Buck would break it down. And go through and do it just like Buck explained in his books. And unfortunately, we didn't really get that. Again, Don Dixon, I haven't watched his channel in 2 or 3 years probably, but he had some health problems, and he's older in himself. I don't know how old he is, but I mean, he's certainly older. And it's unfortunate, you know, Buck's, the people that Buck taught in his seminars and his schools, whatever he put on there back in the day, those people have all gotten older, and a lot of them passed away too, and that information's just kind of just died off. The fishing companies, the lure makers, they're certainly not going to teach you those things. Why would they? They want you. Buck Perry made the spoon plug. He designed that lure to fit his application that he was trying to do. That's why he made it, because it wasn't readily available. Well, Buck was adamant about that lure color didn't matter. You didn't need no damn scent. You know, it was all about depth and speed. Control your depth, control your speed, fish will get in the way. That's what Buck Perry would say. And he proved that to be true with just loads of big fish catches. Well, if you're a lure manufacturer, that ain't good for business. Selling people one lure and one color, no, you need to be able to sell the same crankbait in 48 different colors. The same worm in 65 different colors. You need a 4-inch worm, a 5-inch worm, a 6-inch worm, 8-inch. Like, you got to be able to sell all these different lures and make people think that you need that specific color at that specific time. A ribbon tail worm versus a straight tail worm. Like, they need to sell you a whole tackle shop full of lures. So Buck Perry's teachings, the people now that have the influence and the ability to do, they're not going to push his stuff. Why the hell would they? Because it's going to hurt business. If Buck Perry had been, if social media had been around back in them days, internet and whatnot, it'd be a different world today. But it wasn't. And so, you know, it's funny. If you go back and you read the old teachings, I sound like a damn televangelical preacher here, don't I? You go back and read the old teachings. But seriously, if you go back, you read Buck Perry's books. You read one of the best books I think that was ever written on fishing was Charlie Brewer's book. What the hell was it called? I'm having a brain. Slider Fishing. Read Charlie Brewer. It's a bass fishing book, but it's excellent. Read his book on slider fishing. One rod, some jig heads and worms. And even in the book, they're talking about how color don't really matter. It's control your depth, control your speed, fish get in the way. Charlie Brewer's teachings versus Buck Perry's teachings, a lot of similarities. Now, Buck was using a spoon plug and he was trolling more. Charlie Brewer's teachings, you're using a light action rod, you're throwing a worm, you're fishing much slower. But the concept, a lot of it's still the same as far as where to find fish, tackle not being all that important. I mean, it's not needing 58 different types of baits and 12 different rods to throw them on. Like, it was a different time back then. And Charlie Brewer was a businessman. The Charlie Brewer slider worms, you can still buy them today. You can still buy the jig heads. They got a whole line of crappie baits now. But even at the time, he was a businessman. He made the worms, he made the jig heads, and he made the book to sell them. But the book, the book, even though it was kind of to teach you how to use the worms and to sell the worms, kind of a marketing ploy, if you will, to get people to buy that stuff, the book didn't tell you, well, you need all 56 different colors. No, it didn't do that. And it's amazing when you read those old books like that. There's another great book by a bass fisherman, Billy Westmoreland. He was a fisherman in Middle Tennessee, a well-known smallmouth fisherman out on Del Hollow Lake. He's got a couple books. One of them's titled Them Old Brownfish. And again, I mean, just very simple setups to catch big bass, and lots of them. But as time went on, more lure manufacturers come along. They gotta generate profits. They gotta have you believing that you're catching fish because of this lure. Not because of the depth and speed you were working that lure, but because of that lure itself, and because of what color it is, and because the lip of that crankbait is rounded versus this one's flat. And you need, I mean, it's so frustrating when you think about it. And I've certainly been, I mean, I fell for it. I think most of us have. We've bought a bunch of stuff that it turns out we didn't need. Now, I don't care what kind of lure you got. You can watch these bass pros. They come to town, they're Bassmaster Classic tournaments, whatever. You see Kevin Van Dam, he's catching fish on a certain brand of crankbait that's a certain color, runs a certain depth. If you throw that same lure and you're throwing it someplace where they ain't no fish, you ain't gonna catch nothing with it. Because it is not about the lure. It's about hitting the place that the fish are at and putting it in the strike zone at the speed that they need it to trigger that strike. And Buck was the man as far as figuring that out. Figuring out what depth they were at on that particular day and what speed he had to be moving that bait. As we got hit again here. Let's catch us another fish. I think that zoned. Let's catch us another one, folks. Hopefully we got some more coming through here. Even if it's just a single individual fish right now, it's something. We've had a long break of nothing going on. I mean, we've talked about hiring strippers at the Gentlemen's Club, Asian spas, and now Buck Perry. We've covered the whole spectrum out here because I can't get a daggone bite today. But we got one here. He ain't gonna be very big, but I'm happy to have him as long as he ain't channel cat. This may be the smallest fish of the day, but it's something. Yep, he is about the smallest one of the day. At least comparable to that other small one. The smallest one of the triple, anyway. And go ahead and get out of your system there, fish. Go ahead and flop around. That was on the piece of skipjack that had the gut pocket cut out. Well, that puts us back on pace for our one fish an hour that I was looking for out here. I just don't come to Fort Loudon with expectations of catching 20 fish in a day. Sometimes, I mean, if you're in the right place at the right time and fish are super active, maybe you have a day like that once or twice a year out here. But for the most part, you're gonna have about one fish an hour is kind of what hoping for. All right, fish. Just a dinkity-doo-dah blue kitty, but a welcome sight on a day like today. We've went a long time without a bite. We'll put us another chunk down there with the gut pocket out. You think that fish has ever had a G.I. Joe before? I bet you at some point in time, some kid back in the 80s was playing with a G.I. Joe in a creek, and he lost that G.I. Joe, and it got swept down the creek and into the river, and one of them catfish probably saw it down there. Now, whether or not they played with it too, I don't know. They might not have known how to play with G.I. Joe, but I bet you they've seen one. Let's cut that gut pocket out of that one too. Toss that out. Well, still no flatheads, but that's 4 blues now. I've had worse days. Just had one yesterday. I asked Ryan, well, the day before yesterday, I'd asked him, since he was going to come up here and fish, I said, you want to go to Watts Bar or Fort Loudon? And he said, I don't care. He said, I ain't never been to either one of them. And I said, well, let's go to Watts Bar then, because between the two of us, we'll catch several fish, and surely with both of us out there, we're going to, surely between both of us, one of us is going to hook a big one. I guess we should have come here. I think Ryan just had some bad luck on him. I mean, it was kind of, he had some good luck that he got his kayak back, but the fact it got stolen to begin with, and that he didn't have a very productive trip, he went out there one day over the weekend and he fished with Daniel and the guy named Floyd that we fished with in our tournament scene. And Ryan said he got completely skunked. Daniel caught a couple fish, Floyd caught a couple. He got completely skunked out there. So I think he just got some bad Judy on him. He might have handled one of them rocks like I did that put the bad luck on me recently. A fella chimed in, by the way, on that. I had shown off that rock that I had thought was a meteorite. And then I talked about how unlucky that damn thing was. As soon as I picked it up, things started going wrong. But somebody chimed in and told me what kind of rock that was. And I done forgot what it was called. I'd shout the guy out, but I done forgot. It was some kind of iron, something or another. Apparently that rock has a lot of iron in it, and that's what makes it heavier. That damn thing. I put it back by that tree though, and I asked it to forgive me for removing it and causing all that bad luck that it had sent my way. Caused me to. Daphne's eyes are better. You know, I blame that rock on that too, but her pink eye's cleared up now. But boy, I hate that it bounced me out of my Survivor League in the NFL. I mean, when you lose in week 2 like I did of the NFL season, that's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. Thankfully, I had a pretty good weekend. I didn't bet. I never bet much. I gamble a little bit. It's legal here in Tennessee now, these online sports books, so I got a DraftKings account. And I gamble a little bit, you know, a few dollars here and there. I'm not a big gambler. Prior to the season starting, I made a bet against Aaron Rodgers, essentially. I said, my thought was that the Jets were going to end up being worse than what people thought. I felt like they were overvalued. So I took the point spread on every game except the Patriots games, because I thought the Patriots would be really bad. And there might be a better point spread available when they played the Patriots in the future. But all the other point spreads that were available preseason, all the other games, I thought the best value would be to take it preseason. Because if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt or the Jets get exposed for not being very good, those lines would come down. So I took every game and bet against Aaron Rodgers, except for the New England games, because again, I just thought New England was going to be really bad. And what do you know? The Jets dominated New England there when they played them the first time. So glad I saved some money by not taking that game. The only other big bet that I made, and all those bets were, those were cheap bets. There was just a lot of them because there's 17 games a season. But the other big bet I made was Buffalo. When Tua got hurt with the concussion, I knew his backup, Skylar Thompson, he ain't worth a damn. So I knew they're done. And I don't think the Jets are, I just don't think they're going to be there at the end of the year. So I bet on Buffalo to win the AFC East. I bet $100 on it after Tua went down. So that's my big bet of the season. It's $100 on Buffalo to win the AFC East. And they look pretty damn good. They'll find a way to choke in the playoffs. They always do. But they're looking pretty dominant right now. At least as of me filming this video. Now, you're seeing this after they've played next week's game, so who knows? They may have doo-dooed the bed, but that bet's looking pretty good right now. But I had a good weekend otherwise, though. I had bet on Tennessee. I took Tennessee minus 6.5 against Oklahoma. That paid off. Shout out to Tennessee, all my Oklahoma peeps on here. Feel bad for you. You got the wrong coach. We've been there and done that in Tennessee for the last 20 years. We finally got a good coach now. But we had 20 plus years of just bad coaching. So I feel you, sympathize with you, but I'm glad we beat you. For the longest time, you Oklahoma people, you had a good offense and no defense when Bob Stoops was there. And then Lincoln Riley, you'd put up a bunch of points, but your defense is crap. Now you got Brett Venables. Your defense is good, but the offense can't get anything going. You've went from one extreme to the other. Which in a league in today's time, that's everything's about getting more offense with all the rule changes and everything. Why you would hire a defensive-minded head coach it really don't make sense. I mean, you see it in the NFL. There's a few defensive-minded coaches that are doing okay. Mike Tomlin with the Steelers, I thought Steelers would be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. Hell, they're off to a 3-0 start, so I'm looking pretty dumb on that right now. He's a defensive-minded head coach, but most of the defensive, and what's his name? D'Amico Ryan down there in Houston, he's the former defensive coordinator, now head coach. He's looking pretty sharp as a head coach. But most of the time, it's just this day and age, like you want a offensive-minded head coach to kind of work in conjunction with your quarterback and offensive coordinator. And the Oklahoma, man, you hired the wrong coach, I think. It's just, I feel for you. We've been there and done that. As a Tennessee fan, man, I can sympathize, can fully relate. But we finally got our guy, I think. Heupel seems like the real deal. I'm not a fan of us as fans, having to pay for the team with them raising prices next year. But that's the world we live in today. These players, and good for them to be able to be college athletes and get paid now. I'm not opposed to them getting paid. I'm just opposed to having to pay for it out of my pocket. They're raising ticket prices 10% here on Tennessee games next year. that money's going to help pay the players. They passing the expense off to us instead of taking some of that TV money and some of the bloated salaries of the administration. God forbid they take a pay cut. Now let's stick it to the fans. But anyhow, I'd bet on that game and won a little bit. And then I bet on Seattle to beat Miami and Skylar Thompson. I knew that game, I didn't think it'd be competitive, and I was actually right on that. And then I bet on Buffalo last night. Took Josh Allen, so. Had 3 wins in a row, and it's all because I got rid of that damn rock. The fake meteorite that was for some reason jinxed. And things just kept going wrong. Daphne's eyes, me getting kicked out of Survivor League in week 2. There was like a whole list of stuff. I guess I blocked it from memory now, but there was like every day something that was just bad luck happened. And I finally took that thing back outside to the tree I'd found it in front of. I put it back where I'd found it. And I apologized to that rock. I said, "Rock, I'm sorry. I wish now I hadn't done this. If you will forgive me and remove this hex that you've put on me, I will never disturb you again." And so far, life turned around immediately. Started catching fish again, started catching big fish. Got that big flathead last week. I'd probably caught fish yesterday if it hadn't been for Ryan bringing his bad juju. I don't know what the heck was on him. He picked up something on his way down from Kentucky. I'd like to think it'd deter them Kentucky people from coming back to Tennessee anymore, but you know it won't. Well, they like it down here. I think he's coming back next week, he said, but I don't know if I'll get to fish with him then. I don't like fishing on the weekends. Even this time of year in the fall, the pleasure boat traffic dies down a little bit, but you still got a bunch of bass boat traffic, especially as it's still warm here and everything. Which thankfully today, it's supposed to be hot this afternoon, but it's comfortable right now, I guess because it's cloudy, foggy, hazy, whatever. I can't even, yeah, the sun, it's behind the clouds up there now, so. Between the fog this morning and the clouds coming in now, it's a comfortable day out here. I'd be more comfortable if that fish right there, you see him on the screen, I'd be more comfortable if he'd bite. There's another one right there on the bottom. We got some activity down there by our baits. That 0 mark is where we're setting, so our baits are right there under us. And we had some fish around. We come up and took a peek. Took a little look-see. Just can't get them to commit. If you was somebody though that, and I've known some people that do this. I used to have a guy in my comment box. He would write out an essay and poems and stuff. I guess one of my moderators, either he quit watching me or one of my moderators blocked him because some of his stuff was a bit excessive. I don't remember blocking him, but I got a couple moderators that go through my comment box from time to time, and if somebody's nasty in there, they'll try to block them before I see it. That way I don't get pissed off. They don't respond. If somebody gets responded to in my comment box, I've done it. But my moderators will go through and just take out they'll pull the weeds so the flowers can grow, if you will. And so they may have got him at some point. I don't know, but either way, he don't comment anymore. But he was one of them people, he had a pontoon boat. Now, I saw him out on the river one time, but he would take a spot. You take this spot right here we're on. You know, today I'm gonna fish for I'm gonna fish till lunch today, right? 4 or 5 hours. He'd set up on a spot for 24 hours. He'd be on his pontoon. He'd live on that pontoon. He'd camp out there on it and have baits in the water the whole time. So it didn't matter. He might have a 6, 8 hour stretch with just no fish working through there, right? Like it's just nothing happening. But when they finally did move through, he was in position to take advantage of them. And it didn't matter what hour of the day they were working. He was going to be there in place for them. And so if you're that type of person that's a camper, if you will, you like camping, maybe you got a big boat like that, a pontoon boat, or at least a boat big enough to be comfortable on, you could really bag some trophies, man. Doing this right here, you know, get up on the tip of a point somewhere, one of these creek mouths, and just ride it out. Man, I'm tell you what, if you did that, you know, with people working work schedule and whatnot, you probably couldn't do that very often, but let's say you did that, I don't know, what's normal person say they work 5 days a week. You got a couple days off. Maybe let's say you just do it, hell, for the sake of this discussion, let's say you do it 2 days a month. That'd be 24 days. Let's say you did it 25 days a year. Because you're probably gonna have a vacation in there at some point. Look at this bald eagle right here. Look at that. That's a symbol of America right there, folks. Bald eagle. He's gonna land right up there on that branch. Oh, he went behind the other and I can't see him now. Bald eagle, folks, how about that? You never know what you're gonna see on this channel. But what I was trying to get at, let's say you got one of them, a boat that's big enough to camp on. And 25 days a year, you put in a 24-hour session, like a full 24-hour period. You know how many fish you would catch? Now, I ain't just talking about numbers of fish. I'm talking about big fish. Because if you put yourself in a spot where big fish were going to work through, I could come out here and do my normal 4 or 5 hour trip. And I could hit a place, a stretch of river for a week or two. And if my timing's off on when they're feeding, I may not get a big fish, or maybe not any fish, or not many fish, you know, whatever the case, because my timing might be off. They might be working through, they might be feeding on that spot, but not when I'm there. But if you put in a full 24 hours on a spot, it don't matter what hour of the day they turn on and work through, you're in position, man. As this head bait up here got a little nip. And so I don't know that guy. I mean, he had commented numerous times and then just quit. I probably said something that pissed him off, and you know how people are, man. People come and go on the YouTube comment box. They like you until you say something, and maybe he was just really against gentlemen's clubs, and I was talking about how to recruit women and, you know, how gentlemen's clubs could hire more strippers, and maybe he's offended by that, so now he don't watch anymore or something. Who the hell knows? People get offended over the craziest things. Sometimes I say something and I'm like, after I say it, I'm like, boy, I'm gonna catch some hell for that. And nobody will mention it. Absolutely nobody will say anything in the comment box about it. And I'm like, boy, I misjudged that. Like, I really dodged the bullet there. I thought I was gonna get lit up for saying whatever. You know, pick whatever topic I got on a particular trip. And it'll just, I mean, nobody says anything. And then there'll be other times where I say something that's just totally just nothing. I mean, just not offensive, at least in my mind, not offensive, just very vanilla, very bland. I say something. And I'll have 10 people just light my ass up in the comment box over it. I never know what to expect. Like, I'm going to be myself. I can't get y'all to hop in this conversation with me, so I got to carry this myself. So wherever it goes, it goes. Whatever happens, happens out here. This is how it would be if we were in a boat fishing together. We'd just get on random topics, just two people shooting the bull. Although, again, I'm thankful we ain't on the boat together, because obviously this kayak here a little cramped for two of us. I don't want you sitting in my lap unless you're one of them girls from the gentleman's club. But even still, if we were in a bigger vessel, I still ain't in the mood for actual in-person human interaction today. I could talk to you on this camera all day long, but I don't want to have to interact with humans in person. So, yeah. But I don't even know where I was going with that. I was talking about that guy that used to write essays and then he stopped. But anyhow, I seen him out on the water one time. And he had a pontoon boat, man. He had that thing set up. He could camp on that thing. He could cook on it. He had a bug zapper. He had all the bases covered. But he'd put in a spot, 24 hours, camp out on it. And it don't matter. When you're going to commit that long a time period, it really don't matter how inactive fish are or what hour of the day they're feeding, because when those fish come through, you're ready. And they will come through. I don't care how bad the conditions are, cold front, high water, low water, whatever. Fish got to eat. They are not going to starve themselves to death. There's fish feeding somewhere out here on the river, 24 hours a day, there's a fish feeding somewhere. But throughout the day, you're going to have these feeding windows where more fish just kind of turn on and feed at once. And if you're on the water when it happens, you're going to be able to get those fish. And so if you pick out a productive spot and you put a 24-hour time period into it, man, you're going to catch a lot of fish, and you're going to catch a lot of trophy fish doing that. Like, I think that's the way. If I was a true trophy hunter, here's a couple things I would do. And it's not like I don't want to catch trophy fish. I do. Every time I go out, I want to catch big fish. I'm trying to set up in places that have potential to hold big fish or have big fish move through. I want to catch big fish. But like, if I was just truly passionate about just catching trophies exclusively, like if that's what really drove me to go fishing, there's a couple changes I would make to what I do. First off, I would put more time into spots, like we just mentioned. I would figure out a way. I hate camping. Like, I don't want to sleep outside. And if I'm being 100% honest, I don't like fishing enough that I want to do it for 24 hours a day. I love fishing, but I like it for 4, 5, 6 hours. I don't. And I don't care what if I got to do anything for 24 hours a day, I'm probably not going to like it, you know? I'm not into camping and stuff. I'm just not. I want to have my fun and then move on to the next thing. But if I was truly into trophy hunting, like passionate about it, that's what I would do. I would set on a spot for 24, 48 hours. That guide down there in Texas, the carp fisherman, the buffalo guide that I fished with a couple years back, that's what he does to catch them big buffalo, man. He will put in up to a week on a spot. And he'll have lines in 24 hours a day while he's out there camping the whole time. And so anytime them big fish move through, whenever it is, during that 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, however the hell long he's out there, he's in position to get them. So that's the number one thing you got to do to catch trophies is, well, number one thing you got to do is put yourself on a body of water that has trophy fish. You can't catch fish that ain't there. So if your body of water don't have big catfish, well, you ain't gonna catch them, right? But assuming you are fishing a place that has trophy class fish, you got to have baits in the water when they're feeding. And the best way to ensure that is to have baits in the water continuously. So I'd put in 24, 48 hours on a spot if that's what I was going to do. The next change that I would probably make is I would throw out much larger baits. Because again, we would be trying to exclusively target big fish, right? Like if we were truly trophy hunting, we wouldn't necessarily want to take reel up a small fish because it would be removing that bait from the water. So the best way to eliminate small fish is just to use baits so large that the small fish can't get them in the mouth, or it takes a while to chew them up. So I would probably throw out whole baits, whole skipjack, whole white bass. Make the baits really large. Try to make sure that the only fish that could get that bait in its mouth would be a trophy class fish. Now, sure, you can catch a lot of big fish on smaller baits. I mean, look how many big fish I've caught through the years using, you know, say I'm using a skipjack head, that's a hand-sized bait, but comparatively speaking, that skipjack head to the size of a trophy class catfish's mouth, pretty small, right? In the grand scheme of things, you know, comparatively speaking. So I would use bigger baits, fish spots longer, and another thing that I would probably do is put out larger live baits. And these size goldfish we got here, I mean, thing 5-6 inches, that's a good sized bait. Well, I don't know if we're going to catch anything on that damn goldfish today. They ain't winning me over today. But just in general, a bait that's 6 inches up to 10 inches, that's a good size bait. You can get some nice quality size catfish on those. But I think if I was going to trophy hunt, if I was going to commit to it and do it for like, say a long period of time, a year, at some point, if I could get them, I would want some baits that were 2 or 3 pounds, 4 pounds out there. Why not? If you're going to set on a spot for 24, 48 hours, and you could get maybe say a 3-pound largemouth. Maybe throw a cast net and I can't catch a small carp on rod and reel if my life depended on it. They're all big, but maybe you throw a cast net and you get some carp 2 or 3 pounds, 4 pounds, 5 pounds. What would it hurt to have them out there? You ain't gonna catch many on it. I mean, it takes a big fish to eat a 5-pound bait. But let's say you got one fish all year on that 5-pound bait. There's your trophy, man. And trophy, if you're truly trophy fishing, when I think of trophies, I grew up in the 80s. Back in them days, when I played Little League back in the 80s, if you won the championship, you got a big trophy. If you finished second place in the championship, you got a smaller trophy. You know what the last place team got? Not a damn thing. Maybe a certificate if you was lucky. Nowadays, we live in a society and a day and time of participation trophies. All you gotta do is put on a uniform and you get a trophy. You don't have to win. You don't have to beat anybody. Just put on a uniform and show up, and you're going to go home with a trophy like you've done something. It's stupid. That's why society's soft today. Everybody expects something for nothing. Don't get me started on that. But if you're truly trophy fishing, you ain't going to catch one every day. Because a real trophy is an accomplishment. Now maybe you have a good day, maybe you catch 2 or 3 in one day, but over the course of time, like, you're just not going to get them every day, you're not going to get them every week. And so I think if you threw out a bait, use larger cut baits, whole baits, certainly. That'll put you on more, say, 40, 50 pound class fish. But if you had a 5 pound carp get eaten, that's a monster, man. It's because it's going to take a monster to eat that thing. What's splashing over here to our left? What is that? He splashed twice. Now I'll look over that way and he ain't going to come back up. Now, some of you probably say, well, Justin, oh, come on now. Why don't you just do that already? Dedicate one rod to having a big bait on there. Well, in theory, it'd be nice, but I couldn't keep a 5 pound bait alive in the kayak very long. And I'm not going to spend 24 hours a day in a kayak. Just can't do it. Physically can't do it. Now, I could throw out a whole dead bait, like a whole skipjack or something. I could. But I honestly don't really like doing that because I feel like anyway, especially this year, I'm always struggling to have enough bait. I feel like I'm just be wasting bait to do that. And I'm not really a trophy hunter. I want to catch trophies. I want to catch big fish. But I want to get action. I want to have a good time. And for me, the tackle I use, the fact I'm fishing in a kayak, I can have a good time on much smaller fish than you take somebody that's in a boat, they're using really stout rods. Some people gear up all their gear for that 100 pound fish that they'll probably never catch. And that makes catching smaller fish so much less fun. Because who the hell wants to reel in a small fish on a broomstick? That's no fun. If you're going to catch a bluegill, you need an ultralight rod. If you're going to catch a bass, you need a medium action rod. If you're going to catch a 10 pound catfish, you need to have a rod that's suited for that. So if you just gear up for that 100 pounder, you ain't going to have no damn fun. And so I like the rods I use, the gear I use. If I hook that 100 pounder, I'm gonna have a good chance of landing it for sure. I got enough backbone. I got backbone and patience, man. I can play that fish out. But when I catch a 5 pounder, a 10 pounder, which, let's be honest, that makes up the bulk of the catches through the year, I can still have a good time with those fish. And that's what I want to have, is a good time. When I go fishing, I want to have fun. That's why I don't pull planer boards. Why? Because it ain't fun. Might get better results some days. We might have caught more fish today if we were pulling planer boards, sure. Might have got bigger fish. But we wouldn't have had no fun doing it. And I'm at a point in my life, man, I just want to have fun. Would I get more video content if I pulled planer boards? Well, sure. Sure I would. I could get a video every day if I pulled planer boards, hell. You cover, if we go up this ledge and we got a 100 yard spread of baits, hell, I'm gonna grind out a bite every damn day and get a video, but who cares? It ain't no fun. I wanna have fun. So, yeah, anyway, those are some changes that I'd make if I was just going after trophy fish. The biggest one being just time on the water. I would put in more continuous time on one spot. And I think that in itself, if you didn't change anything else, if you kept the same size baits, the same number of baits, all that, and just put in more time on a spot, like continue, so that you could guarantee every day that you fished, well, no matter what the feeding window was, you was going to be able to be there for it, you would catch more trophy fish. Now, I went on a dissertation about this, a long rant about this recently, that some people are probably going to say I'm a hypocrite on after I just talked about that for trophy fish, because I was talking about how if I could clone myself and one of me fish from, say, dawn till 10, 11 o'clock, you know, a 4 or 5 hour trip, let's say, and I did that for 3 or 4 days in a week, and the other clone of me would fish, say, 12 hours continuously, the version of me that was fishing less hours per day, but in the most productive time periods of either dawn or dusk, that version of me would win a competition. Because let's say you're fishing 8 hour day or 12 hour day, most of your day is going to be in a time period where, sure, they might be feeding at that middle of the day hour, but most of the time they're not. It's not a percentage play, right? So the version of me that could go out and spend my 12 hours divided up over 3 or 4 days, but hit the most productive time periods, well, you're going to have a better chance than me that's just fishing one 12-hour session. So some people probably be on there like, well, Justin, you just talked about that. Now you're saying fishing one continuous session. But when I say one continuous session, catching more trophy fish, I mean it from the perspective of at least a 24-hour session. At least. Like if you could camp out on your boat for 24, 48 hours or longer, potentially, the longer you could put on a spot where fish are going to be working through at some point, the longer you can put in, you're going to get them. But to just go out and say, well, I'm putting in 8 hours that day, well, 3 or 4 of them hours might be a kind of productive time period, but the other 3 or 4 hours is probably going to be either middle of the day or during kind of a dead period, right? So maybe one day you might get on them, but most of the time you're not. And so it's hours versus productive hours is the best way I could explain it. And fishing what I call productive hours, dawn or dusk, it's going to pay off more for me. But again, I'm not somebody that's going to do a 24, 48 hour session. I'm just not. I'm not. One, I can't do it in a kayak. I can't sit here 24 hours. I can't. I like 4 or 5 hours and call it a day. Well, when I get out, my body still feels good. But even if I could, I'll be 100% honest with you. I'm not that dedicated. I'm just not. I love fishing, but I love it for 6 hours or less. And then I want to go do other things. Look at this fish. You see that fish right there? Right there. He's right there by our baits. He come up, look. There you go. Oh, he's coming back again. He's going to take a second look. He's still there. He's still around. He says, not this time, Justin, not this time. I don't know what it is in that situation. He kind of, you see that all the time with live scope. Fish will come up, take a peek. Like that fish there, he come up, looked, went away, come back again. It's almost like he circles around the baits, just looking. They swim off. Like, what do you have to do in that situation to get them to bite? They're clearly interested. They've come up to it. They're investigating. What is it that you need to do to trigger that fish? I've tried all kinds of things. Raising the bait, lowering the bait. I've tried just smacking the rod, kind of make it jolt or vibrate down there. No matter what I've done, I spook the fish every time. So I find it's best to just leave it be. But they do that sometimes. They swim up, look at it, and go away. Frustrating when that happens, though. I mean, it's been with the exception of when them 3 fish come through, and there could have been 20 fish come through with them for all we know. We had I couldn't get you all to rebait a line and drop it back down, so we had all our lines out of the water except for that goldfish, and ain't nothing wants to eat a goldfish, apparently. Fish don't want to eat goldfish. Humans don't want to eat goldfish. And I ain't even talking about the actual fish with fins. You know them snacks? They make I don't even know what you consider a cracker. It wouldn't be a cookie, would it? It wouldn't be a chip. It'd have to be a cracker of some kind. They're called goldfish. You see women, they feed them to their kids and stuff as a snack. Nobody, even the kids, nobody wants damn goldfish. Nobody. It's a terrible snack. I don't know if it's a cookie, a cracker, or a chip, but they're awful. Nobody wants them. And these fish don't want goldfish either. All you people out there that's pestered me forever about using goldfish on videos, yesterday I can blame Ryan. But today, the first official video in 8 years that I've been on YouTube, the first official video of me using goldfish has been a complete dud with them to this point. Every bait except the goldfish has been hit. He ain't even got lively over there. He ain't even, that one time I thought he got hit. Whatever did, if something did hit him, it didn't hit him hard enough to kill him. I ain't a believer in the goldfish, folks. I may try them again now that I know where I can get them for $1. Maybe a nice novelty thing and make for a good thumbnail of a video. But I'm not a believer in them. I'd rather have me a red horse sucker. I'd rather have me a yellow bass. I know them things will get eaten. Red horse suckers and yellow bass, my 2 favorite live baits. It's clouding up, folks. We're supposed to get some more rain potentially this afternoon and evening, but I'm wondering if it ain't gonna. Look there, there's another fish coming up right there by our baits. Look at him right there, man. Boy, I wish he'd eat it. Just come up, circled around, took a look. Now he's gone. I'm gonna shine that transducer around there and see if I see him. This is something I've talked about before too, and I can't prove it one way or the other. But you take a situation like that. That's 2 times now we've seen a fish in the last few minutes come up right to our baits. They take a look, they swim around, and they move on. No interest in it, right? They're reluctant to bite in that situation. The bait got their attention. They come to it, but they're reluctant to bite. Is it possible? And this is something I've considered. And normally, I'm keeping that graph on today, kind of a novelty thing. If we see fish on it, whatever, be able to show you, talk to you about it. But I've had my thoughts on this before, that like a day where fish maybe aren't super active or they're a little hesitant anyway, if they feel that transducer beam pinging down there, whatever noise, vibration, whatever it is, it's fish. I mean, they're in the water. They're very in tune with their environment. If they're already reluctant on that day and that transducer is doing its thing, is that the determining factor that makes them swim off? They're coming up to it slow, they're investigating, they're hesitant, and then they feel that transducer just pinging nonstop, and off they go. Some days it don't matter. Sometimes, well, when them 3 fish come through there earlier, they're all 3 hitting rods, that transducer's on, they don't give a damn. But I think there are times when it probably does matter. And every time this happens, where you see fish come up and just very reluctant and they swim off, they don't touch the bait, I have to wonder if maybe it's the bait, maybe it's the transducer, maybe it's the sonar. I don't know. Most of the time, I just assume once I get set up, I get anchored on a spot lock there, whatever, I make sure I'm in position to be where I want to be on that particular structure. I mean, I just assume turn the damn thing off, honestly, because it's a nice novelty seeing them fish swim up to the bait. It's intriguing, but it ain't doing nothing for us. It's not going to help us catch a fish at this point. The only thing it can do is possibly deter a fish, so why have it on? Other than for the novelty. Now, once I get the new kayak, this live scope, I'm keeping the live scope, but it ain't going to be permanently attached like it is with this one. With this one here, I've run the wiring and everything. My transducer, the live scope transducer's here. I got this cord that runs through there. All the wire and everything, it's all permanent on this kayak. The new one, I'm gonna have this live scope on a separate mount. So if I'm going crappie fishing, if I just want to go out and try to catch fish with the live scope, whatever the situation, I can take it if I want it, and if I don't want it, I won't be taking it. That way it won't take up space, it won't add the extra weight. It just, of all the crap I've bought, kayak accessory wise, if there's any of it I have buyer's remorse over, it's the live scope. I've had fun with it at certain times. I have caught some catfish with jigs and artificials dropping it down on their face when they're up in the water column. Now, a day like today, we're fishing 70 feet deep. We're seeing them fish down there at 70 feet deep when we're seeing them. Good luck dropping a jig down right on their nose at 70 feet. Like, it's playing the angle, any current, the fall of the jig or lure. Good luck. But when fish are up, the rare times they are, you know, and I've been able to do it, it's been fun. When I've caught crappie using it, it's been fun. I've certainly caught more crappie with live scope than what I could typically do without it. So it's been helpful for that. But overall, I guess I fell into the belief that so many people have that, well, you just get live scope and turn it on and you just magically start catching big fish. And I thought, I knew that wasn't true when people were saying that on social media and whatnot, but I thought with my ability to read a map and get myself in the right position, at least I feel like I can most of the time anyway, if I apply my knowledge with the maps of how fish are going to move, where they're going to be and stuff, with the live scope technology, like, boy, I would be something. Man, I'd be catching big fish all the time. And it just ain't worked out like that. I just haven't been able to utilize it in that way. Now that's partially probably just because of me being not very good at technology. I'm just not good with technology. I've never been. Even on, go back as a kid. Now when I was a kid, we didn't have these fancy video games, but I did have an Atari. I can remember having a black and white TV set and an Atari. And I played that thing. And I had a Nintendo. After Atari came Nintendo. I had Super Mario and Duck Hunt and some other games. What was another game? Mega Man, I think. There was a bunch of them. Tecmo Bowl football. Like, I played video games as a kid. But I was never any good at it. Like, some of my friends, they'd get a new video game and they would spend a weekend and they would beat the game. Like, they'd make it all the way to the final level and beat the game. I don't think there's ever been a video game in the history of the world that I finished, that I beat. Even like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Remember that Nintendo game, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out? It was a great game. I never beat Mike Tyson on there. Never, I don't think I ever even got to face Mike Tyson on that game. Like, I was just never good at video games, even as a kid. And as I've gotten older and into adulthood and everything, nothing's really changed with that. I don't play video games now, other than just Wordle on my phone or that Wordscapes game. I used to play Candy Crush. I got away from that. But I mean, little simple games like that, you know, I certainly could do. But these PlayStations and Xboxes and stuff, I couldn't operate the damn controllers on them things. You got 35 buttons. I ain't got that kind of coordination. I got to look at the controller to figure out what button you got to push, and then by that point, whatever game you're playing, you're already dead or whatever, you know. So I ain't good with that stuff. Get a new phone, get a new computer. Like, I just ain't. I've never been good with new technology. It takes me a little while. And it's the same thing with live scope, man. Live scope is a skill. These people on the internet say, well, you just turn that thing on, you go out and catch big fish. It don't work like that. The people that are catching big fish using live scope, they have learned a skill that allows them to do that. And my hat's off to them, because it ain't as easy as what people make it out to be. I'm 3 years in on this thing and I still suck. And so, I don't know. If I could go back in time, do I get it again? Probably not. It's been fun. I mean, it's fun. I've made some catfish sniping videos with artificials. Those were fun. Even small fish, it's fun. But you just don't see them up in the water column at all. I don't anyway. So, either way, when I get the new kayak, this isn't going to be a permanent fixture on there. This is going to be an occasional thing when I'm just going to be using it. The rest of the time, it can sit at the house, collect dust, like my G.I. Joe action figure that I don't know how to play with. But I love it though, man. If you were a G.I. Joe fan in the 80s, and I ain't trying to sell you nothing here, but if you grew up in the 80s and you had G.I. Joes, check out these new 6-inch figures called G.I. Joe Classified. They are awesome. You might want to pick you up one or two. And these new wrestling figures today too, I had wrestlers. Another one of my earliest childhood memories, and I don't know how old I was when this happened, but it was Christmas. And I come out, and Santa Claus had been there. And I'd been a good little boy that year, apparently, because Santa Claus left me presents. But it was a wrestling ring. You remember them LJN wrestlers? They were like rubber figures. They were like, I don't know, 7, 8 inches tall. I come out. Santa Claus had left me the LJN wrestling ring and a bunch of figures. I had Hulk Hogan, the Iron Sheik, Hillbilly Jim, Jesse the Body Ventura, Junkyard Dog, Big John Studd. Like, I had all them wrestlers. And they were awesome as a kid. I still got them too down there at my parents' house. They're all beat to hell, man. The paint's knocked off of them because, I mean, I had wrestling matches with them wrestlers, buddy. But you look at these wrestlers today, these figures, I always go through the toy department, wherever I'm at. If I go to Walmart or Target or wherever, I go through the toy department, take a look. You look at these wrestling figures today, they look lifelike, man. The detail in the faces, the clothes and the outfits and stuff they're wearing, like, I mean, they're legit, man. They look like they just took the actual human being wrestler and shrunk them down to 6-inch size or however tall they are now. It's amazing. Technology today, man. If I was a kid today, I'd have so much fun. I wouldn't be able to afford any of them because they're $25 a piece, but hell, the 2 wrestlers I could get a year, man, I'd have fun with them. Oh, hell, here goes the barge. The thing snuck up on us, buddy. Like a cat sneaking up on its prey right there. The barge went by, and I didn't hear it coming until it's right up on us. Speaking of cats, so my neighbor girl, she sold her house to one of them real estate development companies there. They'll give you pennies on the dollar. But she had this cat. She had a bunch of stray cats. But there's one of them that was friendly. And I liked this cat. If I was outside working or something, working in the yard, it would come up there and let me pet it and love on me and stuff. And I'm a sucker for a dog, a friendly dog or a cat. Like, I'm a sucker for it. So I had talked to her a while back, and she had said she was going to take them cats. They're all strays, but she feeds them down there, so they stay by her house. And she said she was going to take them to the pound. She couldn't take them with her moving and all. She couldn't take them with her. And she's going to take them to the pound. And I immediately felt bad for this cat because the one friendly one, like, it's such a good cat. I didn't want it to go to the pound because, I mean, it's not a kitten. It's not an old cat, but I mean, it's probably 2 or 3 years old. So the likelihood of it getting adopted is minimal, right? I didn't want this cat. I don't want to keep it, but at the same time, I don't want nothing bad to happen to it. So I was in a real moral quandary with this. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this cat? I don't want it to go to the pound. Like, I miss my cat. My cat died last year. I had her 16 years. I miss her, but I don't miss having a cat. All the hair, the puke, the litter box, like, I don't miss that. But I don't want nothing to happen to this cat. So anyway, I was talking to my friend Mark. He used to own Deuce's Wild Fishing Charters. He used to be a fishing guide. He's got him a farm now, buddy. He's like goats. He's got chickens. I mean, he's got it all over there. And he lives a good ways off the road, too. He's got a few acres. And I was talking to him, and he was like, I'm going to get me an outdoor cat, like a barn cat type thing. And I was like, by gosh, Mark, I know just the cat for you. don't you go to the pound and get you no cat yet. Let me talk to my neighbor girl here before she moves, and let's get you this cat. I told him all about it, how good a cat it was and everything. So at some point here in the next couple days, I got to go down there and get that cat and put it in a cage and take it over and drop it off his house. And I hope it stays. My fear is it's going to run off because it's not going to be familiar with his house and him and his wife. He's got 2 indoor dogs. I forget what they are. They're smaller dogs, but they bark a lot. And he's got a big dog that he keeps in his goat pen. Like it's some kind of herding dog or something. It apparently naturally knows its job is to protect goats. He's got one, whatever that kind of dog is, he's got one of them. And this cat is good with dogs. Like it's not, Daphne the dog's obnoxious, you know, she'll go running up to a cat and barking and stuff. This cat ain't the least bit afraid of her. It'll hold its ground, and Daphne can go right up and get in its face, and they'll be sitting there sniffing each other's noses and stuff. Like it's used to dogs, because the neighbor girl has a dog. She's got some big husky or something. And so it's used to it. So I'm hoping it'll do okay with Mark's dogs, but I'm worried that just the change in environment may cause it to run off, and I hope it don't. I want it to have a good home. I don't want to be the person that gives it a good home, but I want it to have a good home because it's such a good cat. Most of the time when you see a stray cat somewhere, even if it was kind of domesticated before it got turned out, like cats turn feral quick. Like they revert back to their wild self very quickly. And all of the other cats down there, I mean, she feeds them and they trust her. Like if she goes out there to take them food, they'll all come running up because they know it's dinner time. But for me, as a stranger to them, if I just went up and tried to pet one of them cats, like they're gonna run. They're gonna see me coming and bolt. But that one cat is super friendly. And it deserves better than to go to the pound. This fish right here don't deserve better though. He trying to sneak him a bite right there, wasn't he? Oh, something, look over there. There's skipjack right there. Did you see him? I saw him, one of them come out of the water completely. I got my skipjack rod with me. In case we saw some fish busting today, I was gonna be prepared. Right in the middle of the channel right there. Gone now though. Them skipjack been tough lately, man. They've been sporadic again. Been real difficult to get them. I'm a little concerned, y'all. I'm gonna take my shades back off now that all these clouds moving in. I'm a little concerned. I'm gonna get wet here in a little bit. You're gonna bear with me a second while I open up my phone. I'm gonna check radar because the wind, look at this rod right here. This fish don't want me checking radar apparently. Look right here. Is he on there? He let it go. I think he's on there still. He is still on there. Catch up to him. This fish didn't want me looking at radar. I guess he wants me getting wet. He must know it's gonna rain or something. He ain't big as nothing. I honestly can't tell if I got a fish or my bait's just foul hooked. Oh, it's a fish. He's knocked the bait off. That's the smallest one of the day, buddy. Okay, good. There come the bubbles. I pulled him up too quick. I wasn't entirely certain if I had a fish or if he had hit my bait and it was foul hooked or something. Technically here, folks, this is fish number 5. We're on our 1 fish an hour pace that I had hoped for. But boy, the quality sure went downhill with this one, didn't he? He'll get there someday. Go on, fish. I'll drop another one down here, and then I'm gonna look up radar and make sure I ain't about to get drenched. I wasn't gonna fish too much longer anyhow, but if it's gonna rain, by God, I'm gonna be out of here sooner. I ain't gonna get soaking wet on a day where I ain't catching more than what we're getting so far. I know it's supposed to possibly, we need rain bad, I mean, in a bad way. But I thought it was gonna be this afternoon, evening. We'll see here in a minute. So I got a pretty good haul to get back to the boat ramp since I fished in this kayak today. Glad I did too, because if I'd been in my pedal kayak with only 2 rods, that triple we got earlier wouldn't have happened. We'd have got a double instead. And we might not have got that, because if I had been in the other kayak and I had these damn goldfish, I'd have probably had goldfish on one of the rods. So we might have got a single instead of the triple. But I do got a pretty good run to get back to the car. If I'm in my pedal kayak, I come out of that creek right there. But I gotta go upriver here, get back to the ramp. All right, got that bait reset. I probably need to switch out these other baits too, probably. It's been a while again since we've switch those out. Slow day numbers wise, but that's fishing, man. That's how it is, and that's what I expect out here. I expect some lesser numbers and hopefully get 1 or 2 good quality fish is what I'd ideally hope for. About 1 fish an hour, and 1 or 2 of them be good quality. I'm looking, and bear with me a second here, folks. I'm looking up radar. No, there's some rain south of us and north of us, but I mean, we're clear here. I'm doing the fast forward thing all the way through this evening, and it don't show any. I mean, it looks like everything's going to be well north of us, the heavier rain today. So hell, we may still not get no damn rain. That's Murphy's Law. I put out that grass seed and can't ever get a drop of rain on it. They say you're supposed to plant grass seed in the fall. And I did, and I took another fella, I talked about it on video, and a fella, I think it was John Knotts. I might be giving credit to the wrong person, but it may be John. It told me to plant. I was going to get that fescue there, but he told me to get some ryegrass too. That way it'd be growing in the winter and kind of building the soil or whatnot. So I put down both kinds. And we had that rain scheduled in the forecast, and it's like 4 days, and it sprinkled 1 day. It just ain't been a very wet fall here. We've had a lot of just dry stretches. I mean, like we'll go a week straight and not get any rain at all. Not a sprinkler or anything. And so my yard is completely dead. Like I'm just not. There's some patches of my yard where there's weeds and stuff that are tall that I could justify mowing, but I hate to run the mower because it's just you're going to be covered in dust because everything else is just so dry, just dead. So I've saved money on mower gas this summer. Guess the silver lining, but I do like mowing. I got that 0-turn mower last year. That was my big purchase last year. Boy, it made mowing my yard so much easier. I got 4 acres of land. I mow about 3 of it. And so the riding mower I'd had prior to getting this 0-turn, it would take me about 3 hours do my whole yard. This zero turn, man, I can fly on that thing, and it just is so much quicker. It's more comfortable. I like it. Wish I'd got one years ago. My dad tried to talk me into it, but I don't generally listen to my dad. You know how it is with fathers and sons and whatnot. Got somebody older and smarter and wiser than me, of course I'm going to do the opposite of what they say. But I got me one now and I like it. Just ain't had to use it for a month. I sure wish, though, we'd get a flathead. I really wanted a flathead today. I thought time of year, location, I thought these goldfish might conjure us one up, possibly. Even if it was a small one, we might get a live bait there eating, but no such luck yet. I'm gonna fish another 30 minutes an hour. I can tell you right now, my battery ain't gonna last that long. We in the red right now. I'm gonna give it a few more minutes. We'll wrap up this video. I'm gonna stay out here another 30 minutes to an hour. Go get me some lunch, play with Daphne the dog, run her around on the bicycle. Right there comes, look at that right there. Is that skipjack right there, I wonder? That went there under, let me see if I can. There they go again. Those are faster moving fish. Yeah, they're gonna go in and out of the screen, but they were in and out. Skipjack's another one. They're like, I've seen them on the screen, and I know they're skipjack because I'd be casting out and they'd come in the screen, I'd catch them. But for me to just get on a school skipjack and be able to actively follow them with the live scope and cast to them, like I can't do it. Can't keep up with them. They're so fast. I had high hopes of these goldfish, though. I thought, hell, if these goldfish work out, they're, significantly cheaper than skipjack to buy them. So I was like, well, hell, I might be using live goldfish and cut goldfish. Be sure, too, folks, before you go out using goldfish for bait, and Lord knows I ain't sold no goldfish today with how many fish we've caught on them out here. But make sure you check your laws of your state to make sure it's okay before you go do it. Some states allow it and some don't. So make sure you check before you go out there and potentially get yourself a ticket. It's allowed here in Tennessee as long as you buy them bait dealer or whatever. I don't know what's different about goldfish from a bait dealer versus a pet shop, unless the bait dealer ones have to buy sterile ones, maybe. I don't know. But either way, definitely don't be sure to check so you don't risk getting a ticket. Ain't no sense paying a fine to use a bait that don't catch no fish, apparently. Maybe it's the damn goldfish. Well, no, right, he didn't have goldfish when he was down there getting his kayak stolen. I was gonna say maybe that was the bad luck, but maybe because Ryan bought the goldfish and he had the bad luck on him, maybe that's why we can't catch nothing on them. Is that possible? Maybe I'll have to try goldfish one more time, but goldfish that Ryan had no connection to in any way, since he's jinxed. We'll try it again someday. Hell, we might try them on the next trip if these stay alive. I'm gonna take them with me. I'll switch out this water today. I think we got one or two left in there. Yeah, there's two of them in there. Well, I'll take them with me today. I'll get back to the ramp. I'll switch out that water, and we'll see. You might see them on the next trip potentially if they live. No promises. I don't know if they will or they won't. I don't know how long you can keep them alive in there. There's some more shad right up there about 20 foot mark. We ain't saw a lot of bait in this area. The last time I fished Fort Loudon, I got it on video. I caught that flathead last week, but we were seeing a lot of bait. I was seeing I caught some largemouth on that catfish trip, casting them because they were up busting the surface. But I ain't seen really nothing going on. I saw them skipjack over here a few minutes ago. One come out the water while I was looking that way. But we ain't seen much bait activity out here. It's kind of been dead on that aspect of it. But we did have that flurry of activity, man. When them fish either turned on or moved through, we got our 3 bites. That one there was pretty good. We had that other fun sizer. So we're averaging a bite an hour when it all shakes out, folks. Got 5 fish and about 4 hours now. So, I mean, it's a little over a bite an hour. That's what it averages out to. And we got at least one quality fish so far, so it's about what I'd hoped for. I mean, I'd obviously like to be getting bit nonstop, but I don't come out here expecting to get 20 fish in nonstop action. I know when I fish out here on this body of water, I'm going to have downtime. I'm going to wait. And so that's part of the game when you're catfishing. And these trips like we're doing here, these unedited, raw, and uncut trips, it's to bring you along on a real trip. I don't want to post a video like yesterday with Ryan where we get just 3 small, tiny fish. I don't want to do that because, I mean, I want it to be real, but I want it to be entertaining also. And it's hard to be, I mean, you might find Ryan entertaining with the stupid stories he can tell with the stuff he gets himself into, but aside from that, just the fishing aspect of it, just a crummy day yesterday, definitely better today. Hopefully next trip out we'll get back on a flathead. I really want some flatheads, man. I want it in a bad way. Well, folks, hey, my battery, the battery here it's about had it. We're about at that time period where the camera battery's dead. The battery pack that I connect to it, it's on its last legs. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up, I guess, tell you bye before this camera randomly shuts off. I'm gonna stay out here though, 30 minutes to an hour more maybe, just see, just grind it out here a little bit. So with it being so cloudy, it's not miserable hot, so might as well stay a little while before I go get some lunch. But again, today we're averaging about an hour when it all shakes out, which is kind of what I expected. Didn't certainly expect to get a triple like that, but that's just being right place at the right time. And those fish worked through. Could have possibly been more fish. We just didn't have bait down there for them. Maybe if we'd had 6 rods down, maybe we'd get 6 fish in that situation. It's possible, but that's just that's how it is. You do this style of fishing. If you're in the right place at the right time, you get bit, and it's just a matter of putting the time in. So we put in some time today. We got one good fish, had some excitement there with the triple, and hopefully either in this next 30 minutes to an hour that I fish, I'll get me a flathead, and if not, hopefully we get it on the next trip. I want to bust me a flathead here soon, y'all. But anyway, I'm gonna turn the camera off. Thanks for coming with me today. hopefully next time we fish together, I can get y'all pick up on these rods or land a deck on fish and help me out when we're tripled up. But anyway, I'll see you in the next one.